Yeah, that's right. That's right. I've become visual novel pilled. So this game is Misericorde. Claire recommended this to me, actually. Oh. Oh, hello. Whoa, hang on. We're going right into it. Wait a second. This is vibes. Hang on a goddamn second. Did I just get led straight into vibes? Oh, that's crunchy. Oh my god. See, I was promised lesbian nuns, but this is moody as fuck. Holy shit. I'm trying to think of what this reminds me of. It reminds me of something, but I'm not really sure. Oh, wow. I've never seen a game set the tone this fucking hard before you even get a main menu screen. Oh, music too, holy shit. So this is a game that came out last year, I want to say. There's only volume 1 out so far, so this won't be the entire story. I know a teaser trailer for volume 2 has come out, though. It came out Halloween of last year. Okay, well now I feel like I'm playing... Oh my god, look at this! Look at this shit! For a second there, I felt like I was playing, like, Diablo with even more vibes. Oh, there's imagery going on. There's religious imagery. Dude! Dude, this is already peak! Like, someone said to me, lesbian nuns, and this game already had my heart, but holy shit! That was peak as hell! God damn! Alright, okay, alright, okay. Game, I see what you're about. I see what you're about. Misericorde, a ledge projecting from the underside of a hinged seat in a choir stall, which, when the seat is turned up, gives support to someone standing. A special room in a monastery, which some relaxations of the monastic rule are permitted. I can't read fast enough. The story is set in a monastery in the 1400s. Characters will say, do, and believe unpleasant things. Hell yes! Violence, xenophobia, racism, sexism, and other serious topics are part of the story. Well, this is gonna be juicy. It was a dreadful summer's night. The sun had set several hours ago, but the air was still heavy and wet. Too cold to go without a shawl, too warm to feel comfortable in one. Oh, I know those nights. Such are English summers. Their temperatures never rise above those in faraway lands, but they manage to be uncomfortable all the same. Even this stately home was not free from discomfort. I'm feeling discomforted. Misericorde definition 3. A dagger used to deliver a death stroke to a mortally wounded knight. Wow! That is the vibes word! Every definition is kind of freaky, except for the chair. The chair is normal. Some might say, if you complained about the stuffiness within earshot, that this is what makes England such a fair country. Even the seasonal annoyances God granted us are unique. At any rate, it was certainly too muggy to be wearing a heavy cloak. Yet a man on horseback had appeared, thick cloth drawn tightly around his shoulders and face, on the road to the estate. He brought his horse from a gallop to a saunter as soon as he saw the candlelight, and the windows ahead. Ooh, the sound effects. Ooh, that's nice. Coming to a stop, he tied his horse to a post and hurried to the front door of the estate to request entry. A servant called out to the man from behind the door he was pounding upon. "Go away, by God, go away! Is the master of the house home? It is absolutely imperative I speak with him." "I could not answer that even if I desired, sir. I must ask you to leave, lest I send a rider to call for the guard." I can see candlelight in his window. I know the master is home. Even if he was, this is an absolutely criminal time to be making house calls, sir. I must ask again, politely, for you to leave. Tell him a friend is outside waiting for him. A very good friend indeed. That's not fucking ominous at all, sir! Whispers could be heard behind the door. The servant had been approached by someone else inside the house, and they were conferring in hushed tones. Oh. After a moment, the door was unlatched and swung open to invite the cloaked man inside. The young page was standing just beyond the threshold. He looked concerned. He held a little candle in one hand that flickered in the nighttime breeze. I'm already fucking engaged in this. Holy shit, this is prime storytelling. A tall man in expensive clothes stood behind him. The candlelight illuminated his beard and hair in silver. As the cloaked man made his way inside, he pressed a coin into the page's hand. Thank you very much. Oh! Well, thank you, sir. And I must beg forgiveness for any offense I caused. I must apologize for my staff. If you had sent a letter ahead... No. There was no trouble at all. It's wise to be paranoid, especially this late. I am the one who must apologize for arriving at such an unseemly hour. I do have something of utmost urgency to discuss. Of course. My private parlor is upstairs. Should I bring refreshments? I can... No, that will not be necessary. Off to bed with you. The hell is going on? The servant bowed and scurried out of the foyer. Because I also heard that this visual novel is a murder mystery, right? So I feel like the murder part of the mystery is about to happen. The two men took to the stairs wordlessly, the tall gentleman leading the way to his parlor. The visitor followed, his face still obscured by his cloak's loose hood. Oh, these crunchy backgrounds are kind of fucking with me a bit. They're kind of freaky. Once they reached the parlor, the master of the house walked around the room, lighting candles before taking a plush seat behind a large wooden desk. He indicated for his guest to sit in the wooden chair in front of him. Instead, the man removed his disguise and sat on one of the more expensive, cushioned seats littered about the room. His host eyed the man's muddy riding boots, but said nothing. Beneath the cloak, this mysterious rider was quite handsome. Oh, they're gonna kiss. They're not gonna murder, they're gonna kiss. He had sharp features and long, silken hair. He was quite a bit shorter than the master of the house, but he carried himself in such a confident manner that it did not matter. Short king? He had dressed modestly for travel, but wore a jewelry box's worth of rings on his fingers. The taller gentleman drummed his own equally ostentatious rings on the desk, inviting his visitor to speak first. I should have sent a letter. Banter for my servant's benefit. I am well aware letters would be inadvisable in our matters, as we're traveling the dead of night alone just to speak with confidants. Oh, music. Oh, is this like a film noir? Are we doing film noir right now in the fucking, the monastery? Oh, yay. You haven't sent any letters, have you? Or written anything down? As I said, merely banter. I am no fool. Good. The long-haired man appeared satisfied and leaned forward in the chair with a smirk. Not that anything we have discussed is untoward. Never! But it pays to be cautious. You're quite correct. Must you agree with everything I say in this manner? As long as you say things that are agreeable, I'm afraid I have no choice. The younger man pulled his smirk even further around his thin face. To business, then. Indeed. I bring ill tidings, I am afraid. The heroic capture of Berwick early on in the proceedings aside, the Scottish campaign is going quite terribly, but the king is still alive. Not that I expected him to dare lead a siege himself. He bears no wounds aside from his pride. Were you hoping a stray arrow might catch him on horseback? I've said nothing of the sort. I would not worry. I can tell you with confidence that this excursion into Scotland has been as disastrous at home as it has been abroad. The general sentiment in the court has become somewhat mutinous. That is good. Hell yeah, mutiny! Fuck yes, it's what I wanted! Although sentiments means very little until it inspires action. I should not be surprised if action is taken eventually. Eventually? Eventually. Sooner rather than later. That would be my honest bet. The king's habits make him a plush target. I dare say nature might take its course before any one plot comes together. Plots? How very interesting. Have you caught wind of any good ones? No. But there is a wide window of opportunity for others to act. I would quite comfortably place money on the king passing in months. The younger man nodded. His wily smirk disappeared as he furrowed his brow, deep in thought. We are leaving a lot up to luck. Our hands stay clean, but I am not sure I trust chance with the future of the country. Even the most careful politicking gives way to chance. I know you must be tired of watching. Waiting. I am. You yourself said that the court is restless. How many other plans are in the middle of being concocted? Every morning as I get dressed, I wonder, who is ahead of me? Who knows something I do not? What if today is the day that someone else finds the will to act, and I lose my opportunity forever? Nobody else has the will to act. That much I do know. Perhaps there are courtiers who know something we do not. Perhaps there are plans whispered in rooms like these that are more conclusive. But there is nobody else out there with our will. Your will. I would like to believe that. Irregardless, we are acting. We are observing the board while others play. When the time comes, we will know more than anyone. All the better if something else happens to catch everyone off guard. There are too many things moving of their own to attempt to control anything just yet. And if we can nudge just the right pieces in just the right direction, without anyone noticing, we may well get exactly what we want without having to do anything. The younger man nodded thoughtfully. He leaned back in the soft velvet seat and crossed his legs. In appearance, he was much more relaxed than a moment ago. However, when he spoke again, it was with surprising venom. What do you want? Why, the same as you, of course. England has a jester for a king. His mistakes must be rectified. So this is about justice for you? It is about course correction. Do you doubt me? I know you are cautious, paranoid, but you must be able to put your faith in someone, and I assure you that is me. But what do you want? I don't understand. It's a rather simple question. It's nonsense. What do you want? I want... Oh, okay. I want the same thing you do. I want to kill the bloody King of England. The younger man grinned wickedly. My God, man. You just buckled after 2 questions. Because I wish to answer you truthfully. If anyone else ever inquires, I can assure you. The visitor appeared relaxed once more. This guy's dead! This guy's dead as fuck! And waved his hand to swat away his host's excuses. Bah! I hope you'll do better than that if anyone truly presses you. I shall endeavor to keep it a secret, as I have until now, and as I always shall. While we are on the subject of security, we know the king is poised to be acted against, but is there not a chance certain undesirable elements might be the ones to act? Are we prepared to deal with them? Lancaster loyalists? Yes. It would be a bit of a headache if they beat us to the punch, would it not? Surely those whispers haven't dissipated entirely. They're certainly wise to keep an eye on them. Matters of succession never settle. He gestured around the room the two were conspiring in, as we are clearly both aware. The younger man put his head in his hands and sighed theatrically. God almighty, I would have thought Scotland was enough to deal with on its own. Speaking of lineage, however, his son. That matter is being attended to, I assure you. So certain you are. I thought we were avoiding getting involved directly. We are. However, I've discovered a piece that can be nudged. We are not seated at the chess game, but we can influence the player. Yes, you've already used that one. Very well. This is nothing too grim you're referring to, I trust. Not at all. A matter of paperwork. Nothing more, nothing less. However, you mentioned security. I wanted to propose something to you. Through my various connections, I am owed many favors, and I am owed one in particular that might be useful. Should you ever need a place to lay low? Why should I need to lay low? You should never need to. Wrong voice. You should never need to. But as you say, it pays to be paranoid. The master of the house took a roll of parchment out from his desk and spread it across the desk in front of him. His visitor finally arose from the plush seat and strolled over to join in. The map was messy, ugly, perhaps poorly copied. This is a fucking map?! Nevertheless, both men studied it carefully. The master of the house pointed to a spot on the map in the northern hills of England. A monastery? An abbey well away from any conflict of note. It is remote, far away even from the village it serves, and sparsely attended. You would be made quite comfortable for the duration of your stay. You are owed some very odd favors. Did a lover of yours take vows? I correspond with the bishop who administers the Eucharist to the nuns there, who has connections of his own, and so on and so forth. He has sought my help in a few matters, and I in his. And it's your turn next, I take it. This is as safe a place as you could possibly find. A very peaceful little community. Far away from any angry courtiers. Or Lancasters. Anyone, for that matter. Perhaps if you were to take, say, a holiday. A trip into the hills when Christmas comes. To sample the wine. Ah, it's that sort of abbey. One of the finest of that sort. And while you were there, nobody could possibly blame you for anything that might happen to the king. Enough. I will consider it. Wonderful. The younger man reached into his fashionable doublet and produced a small purse, which he dropped onto the map in front of his host. This is not for services rendered. This is a gift for a friend who provides stimulating conversation. Okay, I believe you. My thanks to you. The map was rolled up and swept back into a drawer, and a bottle was placed on the table in its stead. Now then, while I have you here, would you care for a drink? Top men! Top men! Top minds! This is War of the Roses time? That's right! No wonder this felt like Final Fantasy Tactics! God damn! No wonder this felt like Final Fantasy Tactics! Oh. Hello there. You thought to come and keep me company? I am flattered. But I do not need your sympathy. Everyone gets lonely. My situation is not unique. No matter how many people they surround themselves with, no matter how sociable they are in their day-to-day, everyone has an emptiness inside them that cannot be filled. We are insatiable. To know someone is to demand more and more of them. More laughter, more nods as we pass each other in the hallway. More shoulders to cry on, more promises to keep. Once you've tasted companionship, it's impossible not to yearn for it constantly. To strip little pieces away from people like a carrion bird. I'm better off in here, without that hunger, that temptation. I may be locked in a little cell all by myself, but you needn't waste your time with me. Or is it that you're lonely too? Perhaps you'd like me to change the subject to something a bit less melancholy. That is a shame. I must apologize. If it's company you're after, you're stuck with me and my musings for now. There's no point in belaboring all of this. What's done is done. But I suppose I'm not going anywhere. I could pretend to be an anchoress once more, for old time's sake. You understand the duties of a proper anchoress, I'm assuming? It's more or less what we're doing right now. You have questions, and I have answers. That is all, really. I used to have a more flowery opinion of the work, but that's all it boils down to. I would read scripture and copy scripture to prepare for moments like this. Reading and writing. Questions and answers. Thank God I have the answers. Questions about answers make me feel the loneliest of all. It all began about a year ago. Answering questions was my life's purpose. I sat in this room and studied scripture day in, day out, hoping that when someone came to me with a question, I'd have an answer. And let me be perfectly clear. This was a purpose, not a vocation. It was a rite of consecration and everything. That's right, speaking to someone who is a bit like a living saint. Are you moved? Do you feel particularly rapturous? Odd? Well, please don't. I don't live that way anymore. Just because I'm stuck in here again doesn't mean I get all of that back. I turned my back on my duties, all because I got caught up in a worldly mess I had no business with. Anyway, before all that, I never left this room. I lived in here as long as I can remember. Meals delivered every day through the squint. The Eucharist performed by the visiting bishop through the squint. Laundry passed back and forth through the squint. My apologies. The hagioscope is the proper term. It's what we're talking through right now. I don't mean to be dramatic, but I always assumed I'd die in here. Why wouldn't I? I had everything I needed. Honestly, that's not a complaint. I loved my work, even if most of the questions I got were incredibly frivolous. I'd help the other sisters win arguments. Is God really never mentioned in Esther? That kind of thing. He is not, in case you were wondering. I cherished every question I was asked. I was just happy to get them because I was, yes, lonely. I did not realize it at the time, but I was. The excitement I felt when someone arrived with a question for me was, I thought, the manifestation of my duty as an anchoress. A sense of fulfillment for being theologically helpful. That might have been part of it, but really I was only hoping to have someone to talk to. Anyway. 9 times out of 10, the questions I answered were nothing but idle conversation. But one day... Hello? Whoa! Whoa! Oh, time warp! 1 year! What is this music? Holy shit! I had no idea who it was at first. I can't see through the hagioscope. It's for privacy's sake, you see. If some poor soul were to come to me with a question about his marriage, do you think it'd be fair if I could see him? If he could see me, do you think he'd be able to ask me what he really wanted to ask me? No, of course that's never happened. He's going to walk all the way up that hill, just ask me for marital advice. No, not martial advice. We're not asking how to fight. The point is, I have no idea who's on the other end of this. The door on your end locks, save for the little hatch to speak and pass this and that through. You're quite muffled, by the way. Speak up! Don't worry yourself too much about it, though. There's not much to be done about the echo. Sorry! If you were waiting for me to have some revelatory moment of recognition based on your voice, you're out of luck. Unless you tell me directly, I won't know who you are. Actually, you know what? Please don't tell me. Perhaps I'll guess later. We can make a game of it. It's safer, but it is dreadfully boring being back in here. For all I know, you could be here to mock me, or worse. If I knew who you were for certain, I might not be telling you any of this, but turn the sound down a little bit. You've caught me in a chatty mood, and I am willing to throw caution to the winds. Let's just leave it at that for now and return to the story about a different visitor. Is anyone there? Yes? Aha, I apologize. That's a rather silly question, isn't it? No, not at all. I could have been sleeping. I suppose that is true. You'd still be there, though, if that were the case. Oh my, very philosophical. Someone came prepared, didn't she? Yes, I was a little more chipper back then. Philosophical? Now there's a word I wouldn't have expected from you. Unless... you wouldn't happen to have some Aquinas on your shelf, would you? I do indeed, a fair bit, actually. My condolences. What's it like in there? What do you mean? And yourself, what's it like? Well, it's nice, I think. You think? Well, I don't have, much of a point of comparison, if that makes sense. You have books. That's an understatement. I have lots and lots of books. Volume could be turned down a touch. Okay, let me know if that's okay. And you've read all of them? Many times, yes. So you have lots to compare your experience to, surely. There are lots of nice places and books. Well, I suppose that's true. I've never really thought about it that way. The nice places in the texts I tend to read. Religious texts. Christian scripture, yes. Aquinas has a lot to say about architecture, but I can't blame you for not finding his descriptions particularly gripping. Aquinas? Aquinas? I don't know. There are plenty of nice places in the Bible I can think of, though. Cities and palaces and so on. Nice to look at, certainly. Physically comfortable. But spiritually, less so. You're telling me you wouldn't have liked to have seen, I don't know, King Solomon's palace? Definitely not. It sounds beautiful, but it was built on sin after sin, and Kings 11:4. Vanity of vanities. I know. Sorry. I assumed you weren't one of the sisters if you were asking questions about visiting Solomon's palace. This was unlike any conversation I'd ever had previously. It was so casual, yet so exhaustive. Or to put it another way, the words themselves weren't detailed. It was a conversation only people enamored with little details could have. Relaxed, but practiced. This feels kind of gay. This feels kind of gay. Yeah. After a while, she thanked me and left. Then she started showing up regularly. I don't remember every last thing we talked about. Usually, she would ask 1 or 2 questions and things tumbled forward from that point. We would chat about scriptural specifics, argue lightly over minor interpretations of the Bible, and even talk about the finer points of translating Hebrew and Greek into Latin. It was the first time I'd ever felt challenged by a visitor. My Greek is terrible and my Hebrew is non-existent, I must admit. We didn't always agree. In fact, I'd hazard a guess that we mostly didn't. But it never felt contentious. We were like expert swordsmen, having rigorous sparring sessions. Chat. They're rigorously sparring. You see, I see now. They're rigorously sparring, chat. What if we were both girls and we were like expert swordsmen having rigorous sparring sessions? What then? In fact, I did bring that up once or twice. Isn't it funny that the Bible refers to so many soldiers as comely? Comely? Why is that funny? Well, you know, a man wrote it. Oh, Yo, isn't the Bible kinda gay? I don't know what you're implying. Yes, you do! And I don't think that's appropriate. What isn't appropriate? No, really! All I'm saying is that it's nice of Samuel to call soldiers comely. Oh, really? You're terrible. It's simply descriptive embellishment for the reader. No, it isn't. Not a single error, not a single lie. It's not really a lie, though, is it? It puts a picture in your mind. The soldier is attractive. Doesn't something immediately spring into your head? Something does, that's for certain. Oh, stop! Do you imagine handsome soldiers very often? You sound experienced. This is... This is what? Anyway, it might not have been Samuel. That's true. It could have been Nathan or Gad. Do you think one of them snuck into his house and added comely to some of the descriptions while Samuel was sleeping? Some kind of prank? Some prank. That would get someone killed. I'm just having some fun. Does that seem right to you, though? No, I feel horrible having joked about it, to tell you the truth. I'm all on edge. No, I mean, does it seem right that a man would probably be stoned to death for, let's suppose, calling another man handsome? Well, that's just not true. Samuel wrote it and wasn't stoned for it. Samuel gets away with it because it's scripture. People hear it and go, well, the Bible is inerrant, so the soldier was handsome. The two Israelite soldiers met and one said, "My, you're handsome." He'd certainly get a slap across the face. Is that what you'd do? To a man who called me comely? To a woman? If anyone called me comely, I'd likely just be confused. Oh, come now, don't give me that. Self-deprecating humor gives me the shivers. It's the coward's way of asking for praise. No, I just am not very attractive. So if someone called me comely, I'd know they were a liar. I do wish you could see me rolling my eyes right now. You'll get nothing from me behaving like this. I had no idea what her game was. She's a lesbian! That's what her game is! That's what her game is! God damn! These weren't theological questions. Honestly, the questions didn't seem to mean much of anything at all. She'd asked them, and by the time it was time for her to leave, we would have chatted a course around every possible discussion, except one that answered the original inquiry. I didn't mind, but I didn't understand either. I still don't. How long have you been stuck in there? As long as I can remember. I don't think I'm stuck, though. I serve the Lord in solitude. It's as fulfilling as it is necessary. Have you ever left? I should think not. Never? Absolutely not! Well, I thought you might leave for meals occasionally. Not at all! My meals are given to me through that little door you're behind. Communion as well when the bishop comes around. How do you use the privy? How do you shit, woman? Jesus! Important conversation! I have a chamber pot! It gets taken away when my meals are delivered! Goodness me. Must be rather small to fit through here. And let me get this straight. You swap your... Do not talk about this! And someone has to carry it all the way to the privy to dump it out. Be gone! I don't want to think about it. You know, I was feeling quite sorry for you and your hermetic lifestyle, but you get to read and write all day. And your meals are delivered to you. How else would I live? Your waste collected. Why, you're practically weighted on hand and foot, my leech. I am not. You know, sometimes I just chuck it all out of my window. Besides, I didn't ask for this life. It's a responsibility. They all say that. Noblesse oblige and so on. 'Tis ours, the dignity they give to grace. I'm drawing a blank on that one. Oh, it's not a Bible verse. It's the Iliad. I'm not familiar. Goodness, they didn't even give you any fun books? I bristled at that one. Scripture was fun, goddamn. Nothing that doesn't serve my earthly purpose, no. That's no way to go through life, even as a woman of God. What good of scripture if you can't apply it to anything else in life? Studying the Bible is my life. I could sense the strain in her voice at this point. You'll excuse this wretch a moment of self-pity. I am more than aware of how difficult I was to be around. Not that that's changed. That's all well and good, but you've got an awfully narrow view of the world from that cell. You have a window? To the outside, I mean? Of course! That's good, at least. Have you ever seen the sun? I just told you I have a window! I see lots of sunlight. No. I mean the sun itself. In the sky. I'm awful of directions. Does your window face east? Or west? You'd see the sun one way or the other if it did. No. I haven't. Well, don't worry. One day, you will. What's that supposed to mean? What do you do for fun? Well, unless that's private. God damn, girl! God damn! This girl's down bad! Talking with you is fun. That's very nice to hear. I think this might be the only time I ever knocked her off her balance. I could hear it in her voice, even though it was muffled by wood and echoed through stone. Her commanding tone softened, and her voice grew thinner. Have you ever read any plays? Plays? No. I've only read about amphitheaters in passing. You understand the concept, surely. It's very Roman. Greek, but yes. People dressing up and performing. I'm not sure how to feel about it. It feels a little dangerous. Spiritually, I mean. Well, if it makes you feel any better, a lot of plays since ancient Greek times have been about the Bible. That's nice, I suppose. Oh, careful. Don't let His Holiness Innocent III hear you say that. Is that bad? What did you just trick me into saying? I wouldn't worry about it. He's been dead for, 300 years. I'm sure Sixtus wouldn't mind. He's much kinder to the theater. That wasn't funny! It's like you're goading me into blaspheming! I'm sorry, I sort of assumed you would know who the Pope is. I receive very little news in here. If it isn't a matter of complete catastrophe, I probably won't hear about it. As long as the Pope is the Pope and the nation is still part of the Church, news is not exactly material to me. What nation are we in? England. Do you know what year it is? 1482. Come now, what do you take me for? What month is it? Oh dear. I mean, that's not too relevant to me. Mostly I just look outside to tell what season it is. I get a special meal on Christmas. That much I know. I brought it to you last year. How often have you visited me now? I'll never tell. Have it your way. What month is it, though? October! Samhain, to be specific. Ooh! Oh, stop. Samhain is the predecessor to Halloween, I think. It's one of the predecessors to Halloween. Okay, so it's pretty much Halloween right now. We are gonna free this blossoming lesbian from Jesus jail? I mean, yeah, but like, spoiler, she told us at the beginning she gets put back into Jesus jail. You know, that kind of sucks a bit. Hey Lyra, do you have water? Just making sure. Oh, I'm actually out of water. I'll be fine. Has anyone ever pulled any mischief night pranks on you? Mercifully not to my knowledge. I get plenty of mischief from you, though. Fair play. Listen, I need to move on, but I'll bring you a play to read next time. I know just the one. I know. I can trust you with handling a book with care at the very least. Alright, I'd like that, I think. Can I ask you something? Of course. Would it be alright if I opened this? The squint? No. I'm really sorry. Is that another rule? It is, but I earnestly cannot. It locks from that side. I can't open it myself. It needs the key. Of all the luck. I should have thought of that last Christmas. And really, I'm not meant to look through. Of course. You're a very good rule follower, too. Then again, if you were to bring me a book, I suppose you'd have to open it, wouldn't you? I wouldn't be able to do much about it if you saw me taking the book, would I? Oh, scandalous! Oh my god! You might see her wrist while you're at it! Holy shit! God damn! Get Jesus on the line! That is true. That sounds like a good idea to me in that case. Alright then. Promise you'll read it, yeah? Of course! Lovely. I can't wait to discuss it with you. That's the important part of reading, scripture included. Don't ever forget that. I'll try not to. There's a good girl. Oh! 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 Ah! Ha, ha! Anyway, goodbye for now. I'm late for Vespers. Goodbye! She got good girled. She never did bring me that play. It's not her fault, I suppose. Asked and anchored. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Oh, wait, are things getting fucky again? When I went to sleep that night, all I could hear was an incessant scratching. I should have known that the devil wanted me. He had been trying to claw his way into my cell my whole life. An elaborate plan to get to me was taking shape. Scratch, scratch, echoed down the hall and throughout my cell for what seems like hours. Shaving away at the walls, breaking down the barrier that had kept me safe in here for God knows how many years. Inside my head, I dreamed that I was trapped in a small box, pounding and beating against the lid. I should have known. I should have known. I should have known! Every sign pointed to something being wrong. That nagging feeling in your gut when you can tell something is amiss. You should listen to it. Every time I've acted against it, I've regretted the decision. For example, usually the food I received in here was actually quite nice. I even looked forward to the fish. But once I received some fish on a Sunday that smelled terrible. I was so hungry, but I ate it anyway. I was sick for days, naturally. Do you understand? This is how my life works. I jump in without thought when a moment's hesitation would save me. Like some of the other nuns might have said once upon a time, I never think more than move ahead. Like a stubborn child, I will succumb to every whim, every fleeting desire. I read so much scripture. I lived a blessed life. I knew better, and if I could do it, if I could fall so easily without another soul in that cell, not but stone and paper in my fingertips, what could I do if I was set loose on the wider world? I don't like this visual. I don't like this visual. For the next few weeks, I was alone again. I must admit, it stung just a bit. I really was looking forward to reading that play, despite my better judgment. I dutifully continued my work in the meantime, brushing up on scripture, then transcribing scripture, and quoting scripture to the odd visitor. I had a few inquiries, but for once I could immediately tell that they weren't who I was waiting for. I'm not sure who they were, nor did I particularly care. I just knew they weren't her. Gay longing! The scratching continued. My dreams became more and more desperate. Sometimes I broke through the woods surrounding me, but whenever I did, my mouth would fill with cloth. I'd wake up choking. Oh yes, I mentioned transcription. That was the other half of my work. As well as being a font of wisdom, I helped spread the gospel through writing. I'd copy page after page, book after book. I even did the illumination. I must admit, that was my favorite part. I wasn't particularly good at it, but I was proud of it. Sometimes I'd imagine someone opening a book and being moved by the words, but the illumination, that gold leaf I carefully placed, really inspiring them. Pride. Stupid. Stupid! Anyway, these books would pile up in my cell until they were collected at the turn of every season by the visiting bishop. When I heard a knock on the door, I assumed it was him. You're early? I've not yet finished with Matthew. This is your superior. I'm not here to collect your books. Oh. Oh, okay. I very rarely heard from the superior. She would, on rare occasions, deliver important news. I remember her coming to tell me about a war in Spain I couldn't possibly wrap my head around. Now that I think about it, I vaguely remember her informing me that His Holiness Sixtus IV had been confirmed. Stupid. Only I'd remembered that when she was at my window. I need your help with a sensitive matter. Aha! Well, that's why I'm here. May I come in? No, that's not allowed. I was worried it might come to this. I understand under normal circumstances that would be the case, but I am the superior. Nobody can rightfully unseal the cell but the bishop who performs my rites. He won't be here for several weeks at least. I doubt very much that he'd let you in, and I doubt very much that he'd let you in here. But even if he did, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation. I don't think you understand. There are rites. This is a tomb. I'm dead to the outside world, a vessel for purest prayer, and a woman has been murdered! My stomach dropped. I made the connection immediately. It couldn't have been murdered? Her? The rest of this conversation continued through gritted teeth and hurried whispers. Murder! Under my protection in these very halls. Who killed her? A stable boy from the nearby village has been blamed. He's currently being held in the hospitalum on suspicion of the act, and will be dealt with accordingly when the time comes. Good. So why do you need my help? Why do you need to open this door? I'm happy to offer any spiritual counsel you require, but if the bishop were to arrive and I had no answer as to why a sister is dead... You do have an answer. You just said so yourself. No! Mother Superior, do not! Clack, clack. I felt helpless, dumbfounded. The door swung outward and I looked upon the first human being I'd seen up close in God only knows how long, perhaps 2 decades. I had plenty of illustrations of men and women in my illuminated tomes. I'd see glimpses of hands passing through the squint. I'd occasionally notice what I thought were people walking around the hills I could see from my window. But now there was a full person in front of me, draped in black. She looked weathered, and even though I hadn't gazed upon another face in years and years, I immediately recognized the expression she wore. A deep, gnawing concern. I was too angry to care, however. You! I am sorry. This is unacceptable! You violated a sacred right! It brings me no pleasure to do so, believe me. But it is vitally important that you leave this cell. At this point, I'd already backed myself up against the far wall, as far away from the door as possible. Stop crying, please. And step away from the window. It was hard to speak through my own ugly sobbing. The superior gently closed the door behind her, as if that would make me feel any better. My sense of comfort had gone rushing out of the threshold as soon as the seal was broken. She sat on the bed and beckoned for me to do the same. I refused. As you said, I do have an answer for the bishop whenever he arrives. I'm not certain it's the right one. You're not? The young man was indeed found sneaking around the convent the morning the body was discovered, and he had no compelling excuse as to why that would be. But something just doesn't feel right. Everyone agrees it was him. You're not making any sense. Everyone agrees it was him, so... That's just it. That's a little odd, don't you think? Every last sister here, immediately in agreement that a stable hand, a complete outsider, was responsible? A little convenient, no? I'm earnestly not sure what you're suggesting. Why would they lie? What reason would you have not to trust them? And then she laughed. A single, bitter, hollow wheeze of a laugh. Your being kept in here has made you more naive than I thought. You will learn, I suppose. I very much doubt that. If you think I'm about to throw away a life's work, your sealed cell is exactly why I need your help. You are now the single person I can completely trust in this abbey. Every other sister more or less has had free run of the place, except for you. Oh! She's the only person that could not have killed her! She's an anchoress. She was sealed in here. There's literally no possible way she could kill the victim. She's the only one free of suspicion. This is cool! This is cool! This is really cool! This is a genius concept for a murder mystery. I need you to join the congregation to investigate my hunch that something is amiss. You're asking me to spy on people? How dare you! How dare you break into my cell and demand this of me? I won't have it! Please, can you not feel it? There's something wrong in this place. Very wrong. Deep in the walls. I tried to ignore it, tamp it down for so long. And now this. Someone's died, my child. I should have done more to protect her. I could have watched closer. I could have not given up whenever I felt that creeping dread. There's something dark at work here, and I've worked too long and too hard to let a mystery like this bury my abbey's reputation for good. This is my penance. You can help me right a grievous wrong? I don't want to send a potentially innocent young man to die. Catherine wouldn't have wanted that. Catherine. That was her name then. The woman who had come to talk to me so many times. Catherine. It felt like I had learned the shape of the thing that had shattered, and all of a sudden I felt obligated to help put it back together. She's helping because she's gay! All right. I should have been deep in thought as I chewed things over. I said, all right. I will help. Good. Good. Tomorrow, you'll join the regular congregation. I will make sure the other sisters bring you up to speed on the proceedings so you can become one of them as soon as possible. I'm sure I don't need to emphasize this, but just to be clear, you are not to let on what it is you are doing. Won't it be obvious? I waited some time before coming here for that precise reason. But if anyone asks, you are our new chronicler. Chronicler? Yes, that was Catherine's position before. Well, and you are clearly a skilled copyist. I told the sisters that you are a perfect fit for the position, and everyone seems amenable. You won't have to spend months upon months hoping a new oblate will be qualified and want the role. And none of the others wanted to be the new chronicler? No, they did not. She stood up and strode towards the door, keys in hand. Tomorrow, then, I'll send Catherine to escort you to the morning service. But a small flicker of realization played over her face, and she offered a weak smile with a K. The Catherine we lost was with a C. Wait, this is gonna be confusing. Wait, this is gonna be confusing. This is gonna be confusing. She stood on the threshold, her apologetic smile wavering. Well, tomorrow. Wait, will people ask where the anchoress has gone? Because people come to visit her for spiritual advice. Will people ask where she went? I wonder. All I could do was cry. I had been locked in here for my whole life, and now I was being told to leave my legacy behind. I'd been comfortable here, happy with humble servitude, dead to the world, but never to myself, peacefully unaware of anything outside the walls of my cell. I had no need to care about trivial, fleeting matters. My life was God's. I was angry at the Superior for breaking down the barrier and tainting my meticulously organized little world. I was angry at whoever had taken those conversations from me, whoever had taken that play from me. So that's what I chose to focus on, how I chose to interpret events. Stupid. Interpretation was never how I was taught to process scripture. But I ignored the fact that the Superior was the one who had stepped through the door in lieu of the desire to seek some nebulous form of justice. I took my evening meal from the squint without a word. My head felt like it had been filled with smoke. Rip people who are only listening to the stream. Yeah, no lurking. You gotta watch. You gotta pay attention. You better be paying attention. God damn. My eyes watered at the sensation, and I became more aware of my palms than I'd ever been before. I couldn't keep from wiping them against my thigh incessantly, fidgeting before each page turn as I struggled to find some piece of comfort in one of my books. I couldn't find one. Pathetic, wasn't I? 20-some-odd years spent reading scripture, to the point where I could feasibly recite it without even glancing at the page. Nothing leapt out at me as I flipped through the tomes. Words barely registered as words. Many people hold a passage, a particular psalm to heart. I myself did not. I'd been so immersed in the Bible for so long, it was difficult to single out any one piece of text that truly spoke to me at this moment. Usually I would chalk this up to the essence of my position. I had no need for a favorite passage when my life was devoted to all passages. I'd simply never held any one piece of wisdom in higher esteem than any other. A holistic way to think about the book, until I found myself in need. I tried searching for meaning in the text I had been copying before the Superior barged in, but the letters may as well have been Greek. I felt sick to my stomach and racked with worries, guilt, and rage. I didn't want to feel anymore, so I tore off my clothes and rolled onto my store mattress and closed my eyes as tight as I could. I wonder if we're ever actually going to see the Anchoress, like her portrait. I wonder if she's ever going to get a name. I woke up rasping for air through sloshing liquid. Instinctively rolling onto my side, I splattered dark bile in a streak across the mattress and onto the floor. I could feel more coming and scrambled to my hands and knees, launching myself out of bed like a wild dog. I tried standing but couldn't. I heaved more of the vile liquid. Oh. Ah! Whoa! Break core! Break core none! Break core none! I heaved more of the vile liquid onto the stone floor of a horrible gurgle. Weakly, I pulled myself up using the chair that served the writing desk across from the bed, but not before retching again. Streaks of bile flew across the copy of Matthew I had been transcribing, still open on the reading desk. I groaned and launched myself from the chair towards the window, hoping to be able to get the rest of the foul substance I could still feel bubbling in my throat outside. Skip these nasty details? No, I don't think so. I spent years listening to everything others had to say, and I must admit I'm very much enjoying having someone listen to me. They'll permit me this relatively small indulgence. Besides, I lived it, and you're just hearing the story. I'm sure you can manage. I flung open the wooden window cover just in time to heave the last of that toxic bile into the dusk. I leaned my head out for a few moments. I could hear the faint splash of the stuff as it hit the grass below. I panted for a bit, attempting to regain my composure. Eventually, I was able to stop wheezing and breathe somewhat normally. You're familiar with the concept of humor, yes? The 4 elements reside in our bodies, manifested as various fluids. Oh, don't sound so incredulous. I learned a little bit about the world before I took the oath to be an anchoress. The 4 humors are elements that make up our earthly selves. The balance is very delicate, as I understand. So delicate that practically nobody is perfectly balanced. Blood is one of the humors, and determines our sanguinity. Yellow bile is a little nasty. People with a lot of yellow in their system are short-tempered, aggressive. Some would say confident, but I'd say a little cruel. There's phlegm, too. Naturally generates in old age, but many younger people have an excess of it as well. You can tell because they're wise, calm, and reserved. I wouldn't mind having an excess of phlegm, honestly. As funny as the word is to say. Sadly, I'm full of black bile instead. Does that surprise you? I'm joking. Of course it wouldn't surprise you. Black bile determines how melancholic you are. At night, after a whirlwind of horrible news and negative thoughts, I was simply overloaded with black bile. My poor little body couldn't handle it, and I had to expel some. I suppose I've always had quite a bit of black bile, now that I think of it. My hair is black, which is a common sign that someone is full of the stuff. I never felt particularly melancholy until that night, however. Being shut away from worldly influences had spared me from ever allowing my humoric balance to color my emotions. There was no going back after that, said. Anyway. Shakily, I managed to stand up straight again. I hobbled back over to the bed and rummaged around underneath it to find the brush I had been given years ago to clean up the occasional ink spill or dropped supper plate. This music, holy shit. Along with the small pail I had for washing, I would have to make do for scrubbing up the horrid mess I'd made. The cell had its own faucet, mercifully, which dribbled lukewarm water into the bucket I held with trembling hands. It took far longer than I had hoped to erase any trace of bile from the flagstone. By the time I'd finished, my knees and back ached. I should have at least rolled up my habit to provide some cushion for my knees. I wasn't thinking straight. I was in so much dull pain by the time I stood up that noticing the dirtied book sitting on the writing desk was just not something I could handle. I'm not proud to admit that I practically tore the damn thing from its plinth and stomped over to the window, still nude as anything, to hurl into the night sky. I must have looked like some crazed Olympian discus thrower. I regretted it instantly. Not only was it a childish thing to do, but I swear I saw someone looking up at me. Oh my god! That's fucking scary! Oh my god! I scurried away from the window as fast as I could. I flung myself into bed, with my face buried in my pillow. I scrunched my eyes closed. I could feel what felt like a spike being driven through my head, and I was painfully aware of every bone in my body. I ached, I wailed, and I despaired, and then finally, sleep. I didn't like that! I didn't like that! What was that? The next morning, I woke up feeling worse than if I hadn't slept at all. The aches may have subsided somewhat. The pain that had afflicted my head had merely reduced to a low-level buzz that made every thought take twice as long to finish. I meekly slid out of bed and attempted to wash myself with water from the bucket, although I'd wasted most of it scrubbing up the bile the previous night. I went to toss the excess out the window so I could ask for it to be refilled later. I could still see my copy of Matthew on the ground beneath the window. An embarrassing reminder of last night's behavior. Halfway through tossing the water out, I remember the horrible apparition I'd seen outside the night before. Ah! That woke me up. I turned away from the window as quickly as I had the night before, even though there was nothing to see out there in the light of day. I simply didn't want to think about it anymore. Nervously, I slipped on my habit, slipped on my wimple, put on my cowl. The superior had told me that somebody, Catherine, would come to collect me before the morning service. Morning service. Ugh! I'd forgotten matins! Matins? Matin! Matin! Means morning! Are you decent in there? Yes! Good, good. Just a moment. God, which key was it? Oh, looky you. She immediately reached out and yanked on my cowl, adjusting it to suit her liking. You look awful. This won't do. Superior would have my head. I looked up at her, bewildered. Sorry, poor taste. She licked her thumb before pressing it against my forehead and tucking an unruly cowlick under my wimple. I bristled instinctively and pulled away. I was not particularly pleased that my first physical contact in over 20 years was this. A woman rubbing a wet digit across my temple. Hey! I'm just trying to make you presentable. For heaven's sake, I was busy all night and still managed to look my best today. She grabbed my cheeks and peered in my eyes, looking simultaneously deep in thought and maddeningly aloof. After humming and hawing for a moment, she licked another finger and tucked into the rest of the hair sticking out from my wimple quite rudely. Oh, music. Oh, music. Why am I kind of being reminded of Akira Yamaoka? I'm getting some Silent Hill feels, but also not quite. I'm not sure. I'm drinking some water. Hang on. This feels like if they got Akira Yamaoka for Nier. That's what this feels like. Then, after squeezing and stretching my cheeks a little, she gave them a light, frosty slap. Apparently satisfied, she clapped me on the shoulders and patted down my robe to straighten it. That'll have to do. We're going to have to work on your face, though. It's absolutely colorless. You hit me! Gets the blood flowing, my dear! I knew you were going to be a mess, but I wasn't expecting things to be this bad. This was bewildering. You're Catherine, right? The one and only. And your name is? Hedwig. Her name is Hedwig! Her name is Hedwig! Adorable. Now, let's get along. The last thing I need is a talking to from the superior. She took a moment to admire her handiwork, eyeing me up and down. Huh. And with that, she turned on her heel and began to stride down the hallway. I want to see her! I want to see Hedwig! I want to see what she looks like! I couldn't follow her. I had never left this cell. I stood upon the threshold. I felt as though I was rocking back and forth on the deck of a ship. I closed my eyes for a moment, perhaps hoping that I'd open them and be back where I was just a few weeks ago. Sheltered, sealed, and content. Are you coming? I savored a few precious last seconds. Yes. Oh, her name's Hedwig now. That's kind of symbolic. The name changing as soon as she leaves the cell. That feels kind of symbolic. I like that. I'm ready now. Off we go, then. Oh. Hi! Yeah? Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, there we go. Oh, what? Hey, look at this! We have a little location thing now. Oh, I guess that was the prologue, huh? We're playing a Persona game now. I'd never seen the hallway outside my cell before. It was quite long, and Catherine was walking briskly towards the end. We've a ways to go yet, I'm afraid. Oh, right here, if you'd please. Oh, look at these backgrounds! We passed a set of windows with a little statue of the Madonna and Child nestled between them. We took another turn after that into a hall equally as long as the one my cell was located in. I caught the briefest glimpse of the cloister out of the window. Up ahead are the dorms where the rest of us live. And the Misericorde on the right, just before those. Then the door next to that is the library. And, left at the stairs just before the dorms. That there's a good girl. Everyone's calling her a good girl. Oh, my God. I puffed up a little. I know how to use stairs, thank you very much. And stop cursing, that's thrice now I've counted. Go on then, after you. I gingerly put one foot on the first step down. Very good. See? One more. This is adorable. This is adorable. I began to descend the staircase very slowly. I instinctively held my hands out for balance until I felt Catherine firmly gripping them and planting them to my sides. You just walk down them normally. No! This really is precious. I'll race you to the bottom. But she had already casually strolled down to the landing. She pointed to the staircase that descended the other way as I wobbled my way down to her. There's more this way, just so you know. You are being perfectly horrible. Aren't I just? Hurry up, we've got places to be and people to meet. We came to a foyer with a door leading out into the cloister. The sunlight creeping in was simultaneously daunting and enticing. It's a good thing we don't get much heat here. Your skin looks like it might cook in the sun. She ushered me through the door, not allowing me the same moment I had taken leaving the threshold of my cell. The cloister was a rectangle of grass surrounded by stone arches. Passages ran around the grass, each leading to a part of the convent I hadn't been to yet. The sun glinted off of what appeared to be a metal crucifix in the middle of the lawn. Although, do you happen to know if this abbey is built according to St. Gall's plan? Huh? I'm just curious about how this place is laid out. What, pray tell, is St. Gall's plan? You know, the standard layout for abbeys? I thought all Benedictine monasteries followed it. It might. I wouldn't know. And, well, I thought that door would be taking us out into the east, but we're facing south. How on earth do you know that? You got a compass hidden somewhere in your frock? Do I? No, it's easy. The sunrise is in the east, so that's over there. I pointed left where I could see the sun's rays creeping over the walls of the cloister. I wasn't aware you'd ever seen the sunrise. So, ahead of us from this door would be south. Normally the chapel would be in the northern half of the monastery, or rather, the tower would face north, and the oblates would live in the southwest. Goodness! You must have had some very interesting books to read in that cell of yours. Of course, this abbey could just have been built around a Roman plan. That would follow, considering we're Catholics. I ignored this. I feel like if I paid more attention at church, this would be like fucking hilarious to me. Oh my god. Fascinating. I'm sure it is to someone. Catherine looked at me, clearly amused by my interest in the layout of the building. I felt as though I had made a fool of myself despite correctly observing something. That was a first. I didn't have much of a chance to feel sorry for myself before I was scared witless by a voice right behind me. As far as I know, the building was supposed to follow the plan of St. Gall, but the builders got a little turned around in a storm. I could have jumped all the way out of my habit then and there. I wheeled around with a yelp. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I'm Sister Margaret. I take it you're the anchoress everyone's been whispering about. That's her! Yes, my name's Hedwig. And, well, not anymore. I mean, my name is still Hedwig, but I'm not an anchoress anymore. Obviously. Isn't she precious? It's nice to meet you. A word of advice. You can still go back to your cell. We can tell the soup you weren't feeling well. The soup? The soup? I'm at soup! How did she... No, I feel fine. Why would I... Margaret turned her gaze to Catherine, as if to deliver some long-anticipated bad news. She's fixed the portative. Oh, has she now? God, maybe I'll tell her I'm sick today. Stop! Cursing! And, what's a portative? I love this! I love this dynamic so much! This is amazing! Margaret made a little wiggling gesture with her fingers. A little organ. Which means we'll be singing. More to the point, it means the superior will be singing. I should quite like to hear some liturgical songs, actually. Oh, liturgical, that's a word for it. They'll certainly make you think about God. Oh, God. Oh, man. Oh, it's gonna be bad, isn't it? It'll make you pray for him to smite the damned organ, that's for sure. That's certain. Is that what we're going with? I didn't think we decided. We can get our story straight later, then. Her words belied a mischievous sense of humor that I would never have expected, given her stoic expression. Just as soon as I thought this, however, a little smile crept across her face. Pleasant meeting you. She glided away just as silently as she had arrived. Well, hurry up. If we meet many more sisters on the way, we'll never get there. We continued along the path around the cloister towards the chapel. I'm so fucking engaged with this right now, chat. I don't know if you're enjoying this as much as I am, but this is... I'm reading a fucking awesome book right now is how I'm feeling right now. Two women were huddled close to each other outside the large wooden door, speaking in hushed tones. I love them! God, wait, I love them! Catherine leaned down to whisper in my ear. The mousy one is Eustace. Where's Mousy at? She's quite smart and a bit bossy. You two should get along swimmingly. The other is Darcy, who... Well, Darcy's very special. Darcy, are you sure you're going to be able to sit through service without doing... anything? You keep giggling. It's very distracting. Wait! Huh? Is this how she talks? Probably because of all the stuff I drank before you came here. And she speaks in all lowercase. Wait, hang on. This is the best nun. This is the best nun. That much I gathered. Why would you drink anything you cooked up before service? I thought it might be funny. It might be. A little funny. That's right. I love her! I love her! Hi, Mousy. Mousy's here. The pair noticed Catherine and I walking past. Darcy gave me a strange little wave where she wiggled each finger individually. Eustace, though, she gave me a strange look that I couldn't quite place, but I didn't appreciate. Was I just fresh out of my cell and unable to comprehend any expression subtler than Catherine's? Or did Eustace seem to dislike me intensely? I plowed directly into someone walking past Eustace and Darcy. In my attempt to keep myself righted, I grabbed a handful of cloak. I tumbled to the floor, nearly dragging the mystery person with me. Thank God I let go on the way down. I looked up at the woman who had collided with and realized something. This was what intense dislike looked like. I'm terribly sorry! Angela. I see you've met our newest oblate. Hang on, is the shadow just weird or is she pregnant? Wait a second! Hang on! Chad, I don't know if you know much about nuns, but... Catherine shot me a little smirk as I pulled myself off the ground. This is Sister Hedwig. She's still finding her footing, as you can see. I'm really very, very sorry! Angela said nothing to me. She simply looked me up and down quickly before turning to Catherine. The door is still broken. Oh, is it now? You told me you'd be to getting it fixed 2 weeks ago. Yes, well, I'm a busy woman, Angela. You're not too busy to spend most of your evenings in the Misericorde, I've noticed. Catherine took a step closer to Angela. She was barely 1 inch taller, but she was making quite the effort to make it seem like there were 10 between them. Find anything else interesting in my room, Angie? Or were you just testing the door? Just the same. Musk, as always. I didn't even have to check inside. It walked it out of the door on its own. I tested the hinges. So diligent. And here I was thinking Darcy's experiments might be more odorous than anything I might hide. Darcy's experiments aren't alive. She idly watched Eustace and Darcy walking past her into the chapel, along with Margaret and several other people I didn't recognize. Yet, as always, my dear sweet Angela, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what she's talking about, too. Oh, wait. What's musky? I'm sure. She shot me one other icy look before turning on her heel to head into the chapel. Time for service. Catherine made a high-pitched little noise that sounded like a mocking sneeze. Angela froze for a moment, but did not turn around before continuing into the hall. Angela's convinced I'm keeping a cat in my room. She's been bothering me about it for months. Are you? Of course not! They're filthy little things. Oh yeah, there's history. There's history and we're gonna learn it. Oh man, look at this. Holy shit. Inside the chapel, everyone was already sitting in pews. All except the superior, who I could make out standing at the altar near the back. She did indeed have a small device in front of her that I'd never seen before. Given the apprehensive looks on the other sisters' faces, I could guess that it was the dreaded portative organ. She noticed me walking in with Catherine and gave me an appreciative little curl of the lip that just barely legible from far away. When she spoke, her voice echoed around the chapel and made me jump. Ah, greetings, Sister Hedwig. I would like everyone to give her a warm welcome. A murmur of dullest enthusiasm rumbled throughout through the chapel. I gave a little bow of the head, unsure of how to properly respond. Thank you. Come up here, if you'd please. I'd like to introduce you properly. She glared at the gathered nuns. To the congregation. Oh, this feels tense. I feel uncomfortable. I gingerly stepped forward and walked up to the altar. This whispering! This whispering is fucking with me! Every footstep echoed around the large room, and I could feel everyone's stares boring into my back. When I reached the superior, she gave me an encouraging smile. Okay, hang on. I need to know about you. I need to know about you. I like you. You are a bastard nun. You are a bastard nun, and I need to hear about the bastard nun. Is that a fucking eye patch nun? That's an eye patch nun. What's oh, that's hair. Okay, that's hair. I thought she had like an eye tattooed on her head or something. She does not want to be here. She really doesn't want to be here. Yeah, eye patch nun. I just need to know more about the bastard nun. I turned around to face my adoring public, who mostly looked like they wouldn't mind if I were to drop dead in front of them. All save for Darcy. Anyway, who was looking straight past me with a serene expression. She's high as fuck! She's high as shit! Hello? There was a collective grunt. I felt like one older woman with an eye patch sitting near the back was watching me with particular interest. She was smiling, but she said nothing. There was an awkward pause. Hello. Shh. I'm sorry. I love Darcy so much. The lowercase nun. Lowercase nun. Darcy stuck a hand out and started waving silently before Eustace grabbed it and tucked it back down at her side. I like how Eustace is very obviously holding Darcy's leash. The superior gave me a little nudge. Well, it's lovely to meet everyone. Or rather, the people I've met so far. Catherine, Margaret, Angela. And I walked past Darcy and Eustace, so we didn't really meet, but you seem very nice. Not that Catherine and Margaret aren't nice. And I also don't mean the rest of you won't be lovely to meet. When I can. If you want to. I suppose I'm meeting you all right now, but personally, you know... Oh, goodness, that sounds strange. At this point, I wouldn't have minded dropping dead in front of everyone either. But I couldn't stop there. Well, I suppose the best way to get to know people is through prayer. Not that I've ever prayed with anyone, but that's what I've read. Wherever two or more are gathered, and so on. I've prayed alone many times, though, and really, I suppose I've never actually been alone. Because I was here, and there were so many of you here all along. And you've all been praying as well. So, a lot more than two are gathered here. Not just in the chapel, I mean, but in the abbey, generally. Oh, and you're all probably spoken with me before. Or maybe not at all. Maybe just some. I may have offered all of you spiritual advice through the hagioscope before. Not that I can tell who was on the other side of that, by the way. Your deepest questions have always been safe with me, so I'll never be able to tell anyone anything embarrassing. Not to imply that anyone has asked me anything embarrassing. And I hope my advice has helped all of you, or however many of you have ever offered it to. And if you were ever wondering who was giving it to you, it was me. Here I am. For some reason that eludes me to this day, felt it might be best to end with a little flourish. Ta-da! God! God, I love her! I love her so fucking much! Ta-da! I'm your new chronicler! Silence. Dreadful, dreadful silence. Finally, Darcy raised her hand. Yes? What's a hagioscope? It's the funny little window next to her door. You're supposed to talk through it. Alright. I bared my teeth in as wide a smile I can manage to the rest of the sisters. I got no response at all, save for another wave from Darcy and a smirk from Catherine. I looked up at the superior for some sort of guidance, any help at all. She just smiled at me and pushed my back gently, urging me to head back to the pews. Poor Hedwig! She tried so fucking hard! She tried so hard! Hedwig's situation is rather unique, so we all have a responsibility to look out for her and offer her help with the day-to-day around the convent. I want everyone to be extra helpful and forgiving towards her, and I want no sort of hazing or pranking. By the by, Sister Flora, I will be speaking with you after Prime concludes today. Whatever. Flora was the young woman with the pimply face then. Oh, she was the one that doesn't want to be here. Not wanting to cause a fuss, I walked past the last occupied pew to sit in an empty row in the back, on the opposite side of the aisle to everyone else. Now, the creed, if you'd please, and then we will continue with the usual psalmody before concluding with a hymn. And yes, that means singing. And yes, that means all of you, including Catherine the First? Huh? Catherine the First? There was an awkward pause before everyone lurched into the Athanasian Creed at the superior's urging. Quicumque vult salvus esse ante omnia opus est, ut tenet catholicam fidem, quam nisi quisque integram inviolatamque servavirit absque dubio in aeternum peribit. I'm so fucking good at Latin. Holy shit. Fides autem catholica haec est et ut unum Deum in Trinitate et Trinitatem in unitate venerer neque confundentes personas neque substantiam separantes. Yeah, I'm so fucking good at Latin. Oh my fucking god. Okay, alright, let's get to the hymns. Let's get to the hymns. Jesus loves me, this I know, 'cause the Bible told me so. Atolitas portas principes vestras et oh my god! Latin breakcore! Church breakcore! Porta eternalis et introibit rex gloriae. I vomited black bile all over the flagstone floor. Uh-oh! Hedwig, come on! Overstimulated! Mood! She was overstimulated by the breakcore. It caught her by surprise. Okay, drink more water. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? My name is Moira. This is an impolite manner of introduction, but say something if you can hear me. I opened my eyes and groaned. I was lying on the floor between the pews, surrounded by a semicircle of concerned sisters. Oh, it's you! I love you! The woman who had been sitting near the front of the pews was crouched next to me. Her hand was resting on my shoulder to prop me upright slightly. Sorry. Her grim expression melted away as I began to speak. Don't dare apologize! You had us worried half to death there! She spoke in a lilting accent I couldn't quite place. The superior pushed through the throng of nuns at the moment, prompting the friendly woman to pop back up to her standing height with a little bounce. She's going to be just fine. I think she's just a tad enervated. All of this might have been a little much for her humors, I'm afraid. I see. I did warn her that jumping into things straight away might be too much. I opened my mouth to object to this out and out lie, but the superior gave me a piercing look. My silence assured, she turned to the friendly-faced woman. Moira, I'd like you to take her to the dormitory to rest up for a while, in the room that's been prepared for her. If she's feeling up to it, she can rejoin us for luncheon later. Of course! She leaned down to offer a hand to me, which I took. I staggered back to my feet, hiding my gaze from the crowd. What a disaster this had been so far. I took a deep breath and caught just a hint of the foul stench of bile. My baffling speech, falling asleep during service and throwing up in front of everyone. Even though these were people I was meant to suspect, I felt as though I'd been humiliated in front of powerful royalty. Surely there'd be no climbing back from this. So, yes, well, I suppose that means the office of Prime is concluded. There was an approving murmur from everyone. Amen. The murmur morphed into a half-hearted amen. God, I love this art! Look at this shit! Oh my god! As everyone began to shuffle outside, Moira kindly offered me her shoulder for balance. You'd better join us for lunch. You barely weigh a thing! I'd started to rain over the course of service. As we passed the threshold of the chapel side doors back into the cloister, I could see Margaret and Catherine huddled together talking somewhat conspiratorially. Margaret noticed me and raised her eyebrows, prompting Catherine to turn to face me. Do feel better soon, dear. It's been quite a pleasure so far. And no hymns. Amen is right, eh? Ah, Sister Margaret. Since we've let out a little early, surely you wouldn't mind cleaning up our newcomers' mess? I believe there's a mop and bucket in the workshop. Yes, soup. She calls her soup to her face? She just calls her soup? And Catherine? I'm sure Margaret would appreciate some help. Yes, of course. Moira tugged on my sleeve gently. Come on then, let's get you some rest. We walked back through the cloister and through the doorway where I had made a fool of myself in front of Catherine. Everyone always says the monastic life is so simple, but I can imagine it being quite a shock coming from what you're used to. This synth just fucking like knocked me off balance there. It sounds weird. Yes, I suppose so. She squeezed my arm gently. Everyone also says first impressions are everything. I have a good feeling you'll nail your second one, eh? All I could do was groan. I liked your little speech, though. It's not often we get newcomers. Adela was the last one before you, and that was nearly a year ago, if I remember right. Adela? Oh, goodness, how silly of me. And we just established you haven't had a chance to meet everyone yet, poor thing. Lots on my mind. I was hoping to introduce myself to everyone properly after Prime, but we'll get you rested up so you can catch up with everyone later, aye? I didn't have the energy to tell her that I had been about to say, now I'd rather crawl into a hole and disappear after but... I don't know whether it was because I'd fully grasped it the first go around, or if my current state was so weak generally that Moira wouldn't have noticed, but I made it up the stairs this direction without comment. Here we are. This is where all of us sleep. Minus the superior, of course. Me? We've made a room up for you already. She swung open one of the wooden doors. A small, meticulously clean dorm room awaited. It had a similar straw mattress on one side, a little window, and an empty bookshelf next to a little reading desk. It was much smaller than the cell I'd spent my life in. You could probably fit 2 people in here comfortably for a chat. 3 if one didn't mind sitting on the bed. Well, I suppose you're probably familiar with all that. It's not much, but mostly we just sleep in these. Tugging my arm again, she led me over to the mattress and urged me to sit. You're a mite pallid still. A nap before lunch should do you some good. What about terrace? Or sext? Oh, and I slept through matins last night. Now don't you dare worry about something silly as the hours. You're not used to moving and talking and, well, living so much. You need some rest. The prayer! Oh, for Pete's sake, don't be silly! I'm sure she would understand. I didn't have the energy to argue, but I knew all too well that God does not look kindly to those who would take advantage of his kindness. Prayer is a privilege, after all. You have a fresh frock, by the way? I could go and get it from your cell if you'd like. Oh, no, actually. Just the one. Someone would come and collect it to be washed every few days. Never mind, then. Give it to me and I'll have it washed. Give it? I can turn around if you'd like. Nothing I haven't seen before, though. She made a show of spinning around before I could argue, so I gingerly undid my habit, stepping out of it and collecting it together in a rumply little pile. I crawled into the bed, naked apart from my coif, which I left affixed to keep my head warm. All yours, I suppose? Ta! I'll have a bath drawn for you as well. You really don't... I'm trying to figure out what kind of accent Moira is supposed to have. Isn't Moira an Irish name? Or a Scottish name? I can't do either of those, by the way, so don't ask me. I can't do either of those. You're not my chambermaid. She stroked my forehead before bending down to scoop up my clothes. I flinched at the sensation. While it was a friendlier gesture than Catherine's thumb assault, it was no less alien. Nonsense! It's what we're meant to do around here. For each other and for any visitors in need of aid. Well, thank you. She was right, of course. In my delirium, I'd forgotten the worldly purpose of monasticism. I've been shut in myself for so long, so focused on myself, I'd completely ignored what it was the Abbey was here for in the first place. Don't mention it. Do you get many travelers here? People in need? I must admit that I don't actually know quite where we are, actually. She sat down on the end of the bed. Not many. We're quite isolated out here. Out here? The closest village is quite a trek, I'm afraid. We get visitors occasionally, and supplies get sent to us fairly regularly. We do have to be a little self-sufficient. Where are we exactly? The nearest village is called Linbarrow, but we're on top of a hill quite a way away from there. Linbarrow. Oh, have you heard of it? It is quite a bit of a hamlet, so I wouldn't be shocked if you hadn't. I have to confess I don't know many English place names at all besides, well, London. Linbarrow, though, it sounds nice. Certainly rolls off the tongue. It didn't always. I hear the folk whittled it down from Lindisbarrow. Accents are funny like that. Have you ever been to London? Never. The superior came and brought me news about London a few times, that's all. Clerical things, church business, I never really understood. Ah, I see. How strange it must be to be you right now. No need to tell me twice. I'm sorry. I promise not to gawk any longer. No, it's alright. I wasn't offended. You're right. It is very strange to live one way until one day you're suddenly forced to start living what feels like the absolute opposite way. Lena, hello! Thank you for the raid! When my mods shout Lena out, please. Sonic Adventure 2! Oh, were you archipelagoing again? Were you playing a fucking Chaos Archipelago again? I hope you had a good stream, Lena. Yes. I'm just very taken with the idea that the way I live is the opposite of the way you'd lived until today. It's very interesting. It's my turn to apologize, then. Not at all. It's a perspective I'd never considered. I suspect to the rest of the world, us nuns must seem very secluded and rigid. I've certainly felt that way sometimes. You've lived all by yourself in that little room all these years. With even stricter rules, I'd imagine. Very strict. Which is how I describe monastic life generally. There was someone living very differently, right under my nose. She paused for a moment. I noticed a tear rolling down her cheek. Moira? Oh, it's just... This was her room. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Catherine? She nodded, sniffling. It's been so hard. It might have seemed like everything was normal at Prime, but I promise you, things have been very, very difficult with her gone. Sometimes it feels like most of them are trying to act like she never existed. I suppose I can't blame them, but it feels so wrong. She could have been there today, a day like any other. She would have really liked you. I think. Not that. Oh, you wouldn't even be here. Not for Cat, would you? I didn't know what to say. Oh, listen to me rambling. It's not your fault. What was she like? She was very intelligent, intimidatingly so. And she wasn't afraid to show that off to people. Yes? Hmm? Oh, no, I'm just imagining. I can picture her almost. She left a strong impression on everyone she met. Myself included. She was good at everything she tried. I think that upset some people, honestly. She was a prodigy through and through. More than just being the chronicler? Well, the nice thing about history is that it happens rather slowly. She had plenty of time for other pursuits, especially with how things are around here. I don't see why that would upset anyone. I wouldn't dare say for certain that she upset any of the others specifically. It's just a sense I've gotten in retrospect, perhaps. I nodded. Precious as I held them, my conversations with Catherine through the hagioscope had a certain friction that I could imagine being amplified over years of talking to a person. I just don't understand why they're so sure that poor boy did it. She gave me a weak smile. He might have been able to rest up in the hospitalum if not for him. It's a wee bit nicer there than the dorms, I have to say. You don't think he killed her? I don't know if I'd go that far. It's less of a suspicion and more just... It's hard for me to reckon with purest, random evil. Catherine was so good, wise, and kind. For a lad to just murder her on a lark, I can't accept that. He'd have to have a reason, surely. Otherwise, the world is a much darker place than I'd believed. Oh! Oh, that hurts. Oh! It's certainly a much dimmer place about Catherine. Ah! Oh, that hurts! We sat in silence for a moment. I didn't dare rebuke Moira, nor did I have the energy. As well as empathy, frustration was bubbling inside of me. I could fix these misconceptions. Evil is everywhere. Demons are everywhere. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Genesis! Basic! Elementary! The very foundation of our fate! A godless man could kill someone as wonderful as Catherine without a second thought. It became clear to me there and then the lackadaisical and selfish attitudes surrounding Prime, his disbelief in evil. Something was very wrong here. Even Catherine's questions to me had bordered on blasphemous. These women were lost! 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 My eyes snapped open. For a brief moment, I felt like I was spinning. It was like I had only just regained control of my head. My throat tightened and I made the tiniest little retch, although thankfully nothing came out. Oh goody, Catholic guilt, my favorite subject for a video game? Yeah! Isn't it great? Isn't it great? We love this shit here! Oh dear, are you sleepy? How rude of me to spring all of this on you now after badgering you about needing to relax. This is a dorm, not a place of confession. No, rude of me to drift off like that. You have my deepest sympathies. Moira stood up, my clothes still bundled in her arms. I'm going to go and make sure these get washed for you so you can get some sleep. And I'll send someone to collect you to show where the baths are. There's some fresh night clothes under the bed. She made a few strides to the door, then turned around one more time. And I'll ask Darcy for some mint. Good for an upset stomach. And for breath. She gave me an impish little grin. Well, you said it, not me. I must have looked mortified because she immediately became apologetic again. Oh, don't take that the wrong way. It's not your fault you've been sick. It's all right. Thank you again for everything. She closed the door gently, smiling warmly. I was left alone with my thoughts again. I must admit that I had been feeling pleasantly pampered for a moment before that mint comment. Oh, in a bath? Was I really so disgusting? Of course I was. I was a complete mess. Unclean, irritating, always saying the wrong things, disrupting Prime, expelling foul bile everywhere I went. What a mess. Chat, let's calm down a little bit. Just enjoy the story, please. Finally, I got some real rest. I was simply too tired to rehash the embarrassment I'd incurred over the course of the morning for a 5th or 6th time, and sleep finally took me. Hello? Hello? I'm awake! Just a minute! I stepped out of the bed and hastily made it back up as quickly as I could. Dropping to my knees, I looked underneath the wooden frame for the night clothes Moira had mentioned. They weren't hard to find. It was spotless under the bed, save for a neatly folded gown. I retrieved it and slipped it over my head. It was a little big for me, but it did the trick. Are you decent? I'm coming! Sorry, just have to find a nightgown. Is this Theme of Bastard Nun? Theme of Bastard Nun? I opened the door to greet her. She had a pleasant expression on her face and looked slightly more together than when I saw her in the chapel. She had droopy eyelids and a serene aura about her. The weed aura! She has the weed aura! Except for the fact that she was dripping wet, huh? Mara asked me to bring you some mint, so I brought you some. Are you feeling better? Yes, actually. Quite a bit better. Darcy had put a few leaves of mint into her mouth and was chewing somewhat rapidly. Don't worry, I brought plenty. I love this stuff. Grow myself. That's not mint! Chad, that's not mint! That's not mint! Do you really? Yeah. She fluttered her eyelashes and held out her hand, proudly showing off a large pouch full of leaves. I grow lots of things. Mint is definitely one of my favorites, though. Did you know it's really called menta? No, I didn't know that. She offered the bag up to me, and I reached inside to grab a few leaves. I placed them in my mouth tentatively, but was pleasantly surprised almost immediately. Oh, that is nice. That's right. You really grow this yourself? It's wonderful. Thank you for saying so, my friend. I just wish you hadn't gone and gotten yourself soaked in the process of getting it for me. You didn't have to do that on my behalf. Huh? Oh no, this isn't because of the mint. Is it not? No. Oh. Anyway, bad time. She spun around on her heel and began shuffling away towards the hall. Darcy is so good! Oh, wait, is there no lock on this door? No. Don't trust each other here. Just make sure to knock. Don't want to walk in on Moira epilating. I see. That was embarrassing. First time anyway. Third time it started being a bit funny, I suppose. I suppose I didn't have any possessions that needed to be kept away from prying eyes or fingers. I was just used to locks. Darcy moved quicker than I would have expected. You could scarcely see her legs moving underneath her habit. She seemed to glide wherever she went, bobbing up and down ever so slightly. I followed, still feeling a touch indisposed. I didn't even know my way around the Abbey. To be walking around it in a breezy nightgown felt wrong, perhaps even disrespectful. I tried to make some conversation to distract myself. This is a very nice Abbey. It's big and cold and probably haunted. What? Well, actually, that's not true. It gets a little hot in the summer when the sun hits the cloister. You stand in the middle of the cloister. What did you mean haunted? Probably haunted. Cloister's haunted. Takes out gun. Cloister's haunted. There's no such thing as ghosts. What makes you feel like the convent is probably haunted? Well, there are a lot of weird noises at night or when I'm alone walking around. Things move on their own sometimes. Also, I think most buildings just get a higher chance of being haunted the older they are. These buildings are very old. Well, I wouldn't worry about that. There really is no such thing as ghosts. I said this more to comfort myself than her, truth be told. All I could think about was the strange figure I'd seen from my window the night before. Ah, it was scary! He took the stairs Catherine had led me down earlier, then walked past the door to the cloister to a web of hallways I hadn't seen yet. That would be a shame. It would be nice to meet Catherine's ghost. Oh. So this is how... This is how she's coping. Her placid expression didn't change, but I could sense a hint of sadness in her voice. Not wanting to press further, I quickly changed the subject. So, where are the baths? Not far from the kitchens, so we can make the water hot. Ah! How pleasant. It's nice. It's worth making the trips from the well, in my opinion. From the well? Does the kitchen not have a faucet? Oh, it does, but we aren't using it at the moment. Really? Why not? Well, it isn't really working. Hot. As we stepped out into the rain, I suddenly realized why she was soaked through. Oh, I really hope you didn't trudge back and forth in the rain just for my bath water. I did. But it's okay, I like the rain. I was currently struggling to not slip on the wet stone path in my wooden sandals, and couldn't for the life of me understand what Darcy was talking about. Watch your step. Please promise me you'll go and warm yourself up after this. Oh, I will. I got to go help in the kitchen anyway, it gets hot in there. She led me into a room with a large window with a wooden tub in the middle. It was certainly not originally a bathing room. The whole thing looked rather makeshift. There was a habit and frock folded in a neat little pile not far away. And here we are. Enjoy, my liege. I didn't know what to make of that. I turned around to see if she looked annoyed or upset. But she had the same pleasant expression as ever on her face. If there's anything else I can get you, just shout. I'll probably hear from the kitchen. Well, thank you. Bye. Bye. Darcy fluttered her eyelashes and broadened her grin before spinning around to scoot back outside into the rain, closing the door behind her gently. Whoa! Sudden music change! Feeling miserable once more, I shrugged off the nightgown and removed my veil and strode over to the tub. The water was quite warm and some pleasant-smelling leaves were floating on the surface. Oh, we don't get to see her face! I took a good long look at myself reflected in the water. Horrible. I was pale and small, but any movement of my torso revealed ugly creases of flesh that made me wince. My nose was bent, I had spindly fingers. My eyes were dull and had bags underneath. My hair had been growing almost unhindered since taking my vows, save for an uneven line where I'd made sure to cut my bangs to keep them from creeping out under the veil and making my forehead itchy. All in all, I was a sad little creature. Bathsheba, I was not. That's someone from the Bible. That's someone's wife. I can't remember whose. What? I can't fucking remember. With a weary sigh, I stepped into the tub. The warmth was quite unlike anything else I'd ever felt. As I lowered myself into the water completely, I could feel my muscles relaxing, a tingling sensation all over, as if the stress of the day was being washed away along with the dirt. Unfortunately, this relaxing effect didn't extend to my head. Ever since the superior had knocked on my door, it felt as if all my thoughts had to be squeezed through a narrow tube one at a time. I'd forgotten each word that made it out of my mouth by the time it was said. I was completely off balance. I even tried sinking my entire head beneath the water to see if it had the same cleansing effect on my mind. Oh, such luck. Releasing my head above the waterline again, I tried to organize my thoughts as slowly as they came. What is this visual? This is a creepy visual. I had made a complete fool of myself in front of Catherine and Margaret. Are these meant to be, like, nuns' habits? It's kind of freaky. I don't like it. Well, in front of everyone, actually. I had made Moira and Darcy waste their time attending to me like servants. No wonder Darcy had made that crack about my liege. They're probably all fed up with me already. Ah! 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 That's scary! But one of them was a killer. Did I care about any of that? This place was in complete shambles. Sisters taking the Lord's name in vain. Flagrant disrespect for the abbess. Skipping matins. No, in fact, disregard for the liturgy of the hours in full. A total lack of familiarity with basic concept from scripture or the proper procedure for Benedictine monastic communities. And murder. That was the top of the list. To hell with all of them. I dunked my head under the water again and exhaled as hard as I could in a feeble attempt to expel the rage building inside me. It worked somewhat. A feeling of deep embarrassment replaced my anger. I leaned back and stared into the ceiling, ashamed. I tried to push every thought away, both guilt and anger, to try and enjoy the rest of my bath. It really was nice. I wouldn't mind if someone brought the tub in here for me. I might never get out. Say, while I have you here, would you like to hear a different story? It's shorter than my own, don't worry. It won't be too much of a detour. Huh? Whoa! Hey, what? Okay, alright, let's go. Time warp back to present. I'm sure you've heard it I'm sure you've heard it before, but it's one that I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's a Bible story, of course. You, of course, know of Elijah and Elisha. Elijah ascended to heaven, and Elisha inherited his father's spirit, the fear of God with which he was able to perform miracles, and so on and so forth. He could part waters like Moses, and heal blighted lands and rivers. But there's a passage describing a journey to Bethel that amuses me. You know what I'm speaking of, yes? Forsooth Elisha went up from thence into Bethel, and when he went up by the way, little children went out of the city, and scorned him, and said, "Go up, thou bald one! Go up, thou bald one!" Wait, actually, I do know this story. He like fucking summons the bears to eat the kids. He summons bears! Why are we hearing this story? And when he had beheld, he saw them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And 2 bears went out of the forest, and rent 42 children of them. He killed 42 kids! He's like, oh, you called me bald? Jesus orb, go! And the bears are like, oh, I'm gonna kill 42 kids! Soothly Elisha went from thence into the hill of Carmel, and from thence he turned again to Samaria. Oh my god! 42 children torn apart by angry bears at the behest of Elisha. That's rather extreme, isn't it? It's funny. When I was locked in this cell the first time around, I never thought much of this part of the story. But it really is awful to think about, isn't it? Could you imagine being ripped to shreds by a wild beast just for calling a man bald? Only, it mustn't be horrible, because God heard Elisha's curse and punished the rude little boys and girls justly. I've read that a lot of people question if they really were children. Perhaps in the original Hebrew, the word is a little broader. In Latin, it certainly says children, and we're taught that the text is inerrant. Which brings me to the part of the story that interests me so. The text is inerrant, but the Bible as we know it is a translation. Though surely there is room for some error. In fact, that version of the story I recited for you, that wasn't just me paraphrasing from the Vulgate for you. That was a passage translated by a man named John Wycliffe. No, of course I know you know who Wycliffe is. Who does not? Please continue to humor me. I am attempting to record everything I find relevant to this story. Imagine Perisha thought that you were some heathen listening to my tale. You'd appreciate the explanation, would you not? Wouldn't you appreciate the tale, chat? If you were a heathen, chat. Imagine if you were a heathen. Wouldn't that be fucking crazy? Wouldn't that be crazy, chat? If you were some heathens, oh damn, that'd be crazy. That is how I was trained to write chronicles. Do try and put up with me if I sound like the superior. Anyway, as written in Latin, the story is as follows. Ascendit autem inde in Bethel, cumque ascenderet per viam, quere parvi egressi sunt de civitate, et eludebant I decentes ascende calve, quicum respexisset vitet eos et maledixet es in nomine Domini. Egressique sunt duo ursi de saltu, et lacereverunt ex es quadraginta duos pueros. Well, I know what lacereverunt means. I know what that word means. Many years ago, Wycliffe translated the Bible into English. The Archbishop at the time accused him of inserting nefarious messages into his translations. He thought Wycliffe was trying to rile the common people up to rebel against the church. So sure they were of Wycliffe's heresy, they held a synod to argue for his expulsion from Oxford. They succeeded too. His Majesty Richard II banished him from the college, and it became actual written law that no man shall write against the church. We both know the rest, of course. You won't bite my head off for walking through it, will you? The Wycliffites were denounced. Their heresy was thoroughly put to rest. This was nearly a century ago, so God forgive me for saying this. Wycliffe had some interesting things to say about translation that often rattle around in my head. I've gotten very sidetracked here, haven't I? Oh dear. The point is, I find it interesting that Wycliffe's translation kept the children part from the Vulgate Bible. He too must have felt the original Latin text was inerrant, and yet he was punished for his translation work. God forbid, but if the church as we know it crumbles many years from now, someone attempts to teach using his Bible as a basis, will they keep that part like we kept it in the Vulgate? What does this story actually mean? It certainly seems a bit cruel. Maybe it means nothing. If it means nothing, is it necessary? If it is necessary, what does it mean? You must forgive me. I do sound a bit of a lollard at the moment, don't I? It is a rather impossible problem. The 42 children had been mauled by bears at least 3 times by now. Probably many more, as I doubt Wycliffe is the only man who tried to write a Bible in his own language. And since I'm afraid I'm useless at Hebrew, I'll never know if they were meant to be at all. I suppose this is splitting hairs. If they were grown men and women, being attacked by a furious mother bear commanded by God's messenger is still a rather unpleasant way to go. Still, fought to death for a playground, Tom. What a strange world. Why does this feel like some fucked up foreshadowing? This feels like some fucked up foreshadowing as to what may have happened to Catherine. Interesting. So you had indeed already heard all this before? Please forgive me for taking up more of your precious time. Like I said before, you'll permit me a small indulgence here and there. I'm noticing that present-day Hedwig doesn't seem to be as anal about the rules as story time Hedwig. I think. Full Metal Alchemist. Even if I was not completely refreshed in spirit, the bath certainly did wonders for me physically. I could no longer count each individual bone in my body aching, at the very least. The noon bell rang. I stood up in the bath, scanning around for a towel of some sort. I spotted one, a simple piece of linen cloth, folded next to the habit Moira had washed for me. I stepped out of the bath while the bell was still ringing and dropped to my knees, resting my elbows against the edge of the tub with my hands clasped together. I began reciting the Psalms for Sext. Canticum gradum, ad te levavi oculos meos, qui habitas in caeli. Hello? I wheeled around with a start, twisting into an uncomfortable position, attempting to cover my shame, and turned to face my visitor at the same time. Oh goodness, I'm so sorry. I was just coming to collect you for luncheon. It's alright, I was just reciting the office. Really? Which one? Sext. The noon office. Do you not... Oh, yes! Well, since we break for luncheon at midday, we roll that one into prime. This was deeply embarrassing for several reasons. I rose to my feet, strategically covering myself. Moira politely held a hand in front of her eyes. Did I interrupt it then? In the chapel? I would never blame you for it in that sense, but I began drying myself off with a towel, pressing it against my hair gently and hastily running it along my body. I must confess that I'm a little behind on all the offices today. I slept through matins as well. Matins? Oh, don't worry yourself about that. We roll matins into prime as well. What? I flung the towel to the ground in shock, so dismayed I was. Moira, still holding her hand in front of her face, let out a nervous giggle. It's fairly normal as far as I know. We have morning prayer and evening prayer. If we spent all day following the hours to the letter, we'd never get anything done. Or any sleep at all. Are you really getting up in the middle of the night to pray? Yes? And dropping everything to recite psalms throughout your day? Yes! My goodness, that's so unfair. The superior never told you about how monasteries condense the hours. The bishop didn't either? No. I found it hard to believe, to be perfectly honest. How often do you take communion? Whenever the bishop is here, so every few months or so? This almost knocked me back onto the floor. I was used to receiving communion once a season, but I'd been under the impression that I was a unique case. My needs differed from the rest of the sisters. I'd been in a permanent and all-encompassing relationship with God. These women did not seem to have the same devotion. I finally remembered that I was standing there like a fool and began to put my fresh clothes on. They smelled and felt lovely. Little dried leaves fell out of the sleeves and robe as I lifted them. I bent down to pick one of them up after I'd slid the cloak over my head. Those are from our garden. Aren't they nice? Extremely so. You really don't recite the hours as written? This isn't, I don't know, a prank? Why would I pull a prank on you? I have no idea. The superior just put the idea in my head, I suppose. That morning prayer. Oh, of course. Flora's the one to watch out for. She's full of youthful vigor. Or Darcy. Or, well, Catherine. Or Margaret. She looks sheepish. I can see why you might be wary of practical jokes, but please believe me when I tell you that condensing the hours into morning and evening prayers is fairly standard around monasteries these days. In fact, I think it might have been for a long while now. I suppose I'd have no way of knowing otherwise. And it's accepted? I don't think anyone's ever gone to hell for rearranging their calendar, if that's what you're asking. Are you dressed now? Just about. Moira lifted her hand from her eyes. Now, would you look at that? Fresh as anything. Thank you very much for washing them. Oh, don't mention it. Hopefully you're feeling a bit better now. Once we get some lunch in you, you'll be good as new, I reckon. I'm looking forward to it, but, This might sound silly, but if I go to evening prayer tonight and do the rest of the hours, I still won't have caught up. Would you mind if I at least finish sext? No, not at all. Thank you very much. Ecce sicut oculi servorum in manibus dominorum suorum. I've never actually prayed for an audience. Would you like me to join you? Yes. That'd be lovely, actually. Moira beamed and walked over to the tub I'd been using. She kneeled as I had been kneeling earlier, and I joined her. The pleasant scent of the leaves in the bath still lingered above the water. Sicut oculi ancile in manibus domini suae. Ita oculi nostri ad dominum deum nostrum. Donec miseratur nostri. I can't speak Latin, chat, in case it's not fully obvious. I can speak French. I can't speak Latin. Oh, shit. Well, actually, let's save. Yeah. I keep accidentally right-clicking. We completed the liturgy and left in silence. I felt bolstered by the light of prayer, and the bath and fresh clothes had left me feeling warm and content. Moira strode in front of me, leading me to the rectory. When we arrived, I took a deep breath. Bathing in prayer rejuvenated my body and spirit, but I was still nervous about facing everyone, both because of the harrowing events of the morning, but because of my mission. I hadn't forgotten. I just had no idea how to begin. Murder mystery! The rectory was a long room of a high ceiling. You know, I have no idea how long this game is, by the way. I know that it's just volume 1, but I don't know how long the game is. A large, aged table, already laden with plates, ran the length of the room. All the other sisters were there, and the superior was standing at the head of the table, appearing to hold court. Ah, wonderful. Are you feeling any better? Yes, very much so. Moira beamed and gently guided me to the foot of the table, where a stool was waiting. Oh, I couldn't... Please, sit, so that everyone may be introduced to you. Properly, this time. This was the last thing I wanted, to be perfectly honest, but I obeyed. You smell nice. Thanks. You've already met Sister Darcy, of course. She tends to the garden and livestock and is something of an alchemist. I prefer the title Alchevisionist. Alchevisionist? Of course. Sitting next to her is Eustace. Charmed. Eustace is our sacristan and librarian. We actually have a great many rare books stored here that need to be taken care of. And read, most importantly. Not all of them have been catalogued. I am sure you and Eustace will get to know each other very well. She will be of great use to you as our new chronicler. This is Sister Flora. She's our youngest oblate. She's 17. I'm 19. Are you really? My goodness, time flies. I wish. I've been stuck here for 5 years now. Now really, stuck? Yes, stuck. Well, she has not yet found her calling, but the youthful spirit of rebellion gives Flora the energy to help out with various tasks around the Abbey. You have met Moira already, of course. Yes, indeed. Moira is our infirmary, but also serves as our chamberlain and our hosteler on the rare occasion we have visitors. I'm the closest thing to a doctor here without, well, being a doctor, you know. Without having a man here, you mean. And thank goodness for that, aye? A polite laugh went around the table. On your right, Hedwig, is Sister Marta. Marta has actually had many roles here even before I was the prioress. I patch none! I patch none! I need to know your story! She was the chronicler before our last and has also been our cantor. You can just say that I'm old. It's no secret. I wouldn't dream of it. You have much wisdom and many surprises left in you, Sister Marta. What do you do nowadays? I try to enjoy what's left of my life, dear. You're on the cellars, you mean? I said what I said. And a damn fine job of running the cellar you do, I'll say. Oh wait, I love her. This is Sister Charity, who is rather fittingly our head almoner. Although there's not much of that to be done around here, I'm afraid. So I mostly strive to do the same as Marta here. You help in the cellars? I enjoy life. Next is Sister Margaret. We've met already. Margaret is another almoner and also helps in the cellars. I don't know what an almoner is. I'm a precentor as well. I helped Sister Catherine a lot with her writing. Margaret is very talented. She was also our first foreign oblate. Thank you very much for explaining that on my behalf, Soup. Anyway, it's not completely true. It is completely true, in fact. Sister Adela, I thought you were born in Spain. I indeed was born in Spain, which is another country. I was born in Spain as well. What I meant was, this should be good. Do you actually know where I was born, Soup? Don't call me that. Of course I do. We're our first oblate from outside the usual. This is really awkward. This is really awkward. Oh my god. Here. The typical sphere of people who devote themselves to monastic life. Oh no! No! You fucked up! Oh, I'll just spare your reverence. That is so true, Darcy. Wait. When was Galileo again? When was Galileo? Oh my god. I don't even know this shit. I'm just a nun doing my little part to spread the faith around the whole globe, which is the entire purpose of being one, or so I'm told. I'm Irish! Okay, there you go, I knew it. That's wonderful, Moira. Moira's just like, I'm still here! I love these nuns. I love these nuns so much. I apologize. I did not mean to offend. I simply meant... No offense taken, Soup. I'm sure Hedwig knew what you meant. Well. Tough act to follow. You have, of course, met Catherine. Her name is spelt with a K, but when speaking, we referred to her as Catherine the First. Our old chronicler we called Catherine the Second. We had a little contest for her, and Catherine the Second was very gracious in defeat. A crying shame what happened to her. Catherine is our... Come to think of it, Catherine, what is your title? I dabble. That's not a title! Moira's Irish. This is Sister Adela. She was actually our newest oblate before you decided to join the congregation. That's right. It feels good to move up a rank. Adela has also not really settled into a role yet. Like Flora, she helps out wherever she can. And finally, we have met already. I gulped. I am the prioress, my second in command. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm from Wales. Thank you, Darcy! Thank you, Darcy, I love you! Thank you, Darcy! Well, now that we were all caught up, Everyone's heads bowed instantaneously. I hastily lowered my head as well to join in the hushed whispers. Let us eat. On my plate were 2 thick slices of bread, far thicker than I'd ever been given in my cell. There was some kind of boiled meat and a crumbly hunk of white cheese. I glanced around. Everyone was already digging in with their fingers. I followed suit, starting with the bread. It was light and fluffy with a crisp crust. A finger appeared above my plate suddenly. Duck. What? I mean, it's duck. With herbs. Darcy, you're freaking me out. Lyra, it's time to learn how to do a Welsh accent for Darcy's sake. No. 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 I dated a Welsh guy once. I don't know how to do that accent. From your garden? That's right. I pinched off a piece and marveled at how juicy it was. I put it in my mouth and was overwhelmed. Wow. I helped. Yeah, you killed the duck. Well, yes. Because you cry if you have to do it. Wait, charm point! Charm point! That's right. I raise them and name them and love them. You really shouldn't do that for starters. Name them? Yes, or love them. I'm good at names is the thing. That's true. And once I've named something, it's impossible not to love it. What was this duck's name? I'd offer my compliments. If they were still alive, anyway. No clue. She doesn't let me tell her which ones are being slaughtered. Hang on, but you'd still what? Yeah, she figures it out eventually when she checks in on the animals. Look, it makes sense. How does it make sense, Darcy? I'm gonna be a little sad about it no matter what, but I can't stop it from happening. I can put it off so I'm not sad about it at lunch, which is a horrible time to be sad. Does knowing you're going to be sad later not make you sad now? Oh. Why? Because the duck tastes good. Listen to Darcy. Just listen to Darcy. Nobody seemed to be able to argue with this logic. You can't! You can't! It's sound! It's foolproof! It's waterproof! It's duck-proof! That's our Dars. That's our Dars. Everyone continued eating in silence for a moment. How do you tell the difference between animals? Knowledge. I shuddered involuntarily all of a sudden as I felt a hand beneath the table tapping my knee. I looked over to my right at Marta, who smirked. She tapped my knee again as the others continued their conversation. Is it difficult killing the ducks? Not really. You're not much of a match for me, if I'm being honest. I suppose you have a knife in that situation. I assure you, I could easily defeat a duck even without a knife. Yeah, Eustace! Hand-to-hand combat with the duck! Hell yeah! What about 2 ducks? Absolutely. 3? Again, definitely. I think you are all really overestimating how much damage a duck could do to me. These conversations are amazing. I think this is what nuns talk about, actually. I am an adult woman. The tapping on my knee continued. She, still smirking, tilted her head down, indicating I should look lower. I did, and saw that she was holding a handful of something. Understanding finally, I held out my hand. She nodded and returned to her meal. Ducks can be really mean. Have you ever seen an angry duck? Yes. They don't love being killed, funnily enough. What, they can, like, see you coming? They know they're about to die? I don't have to ambush them if that's what you're wondering. I usually figure it out by the time I pick them up by the neck and put them on the chopping block, though. How would one sneakily attack a duck? Very easily, probably. They are ducks. But you don't attack them that way. Correct. Why not? Again, I feel like you are all severely overestimating the power of a single duck and underestimating me, a fully grown woman. How many ducks would it take before you think you'd lose? I could defeat every duck. It is simply not a problem for me. I think she could defeat every duck. I think she could extinguish ducks. Every duck? In the world? Come on. I could defeat infinite ducks. This is what this game is about. No, there's no murder mystery. Nah. There's no murder mystery. This is the infinite ducks. They are small and have little necks. I could kill a duck by accident. It simply doesn't require any measurable amount of my strength. You would get tired eventually. I would not. You're talking as if they're ants. I think it requires a little more energy to kill a duck than an insect. Especially if there were a lot of them at once. I would swing my arms. I would kick out my legs. A group of ducks would crumple immediately in a fight against me. Okay, now I'm thinking about you killing a lot of ducks, and it's making me really sad because I'm imagining you killing all the ducks. I'm looking after huge kicks and punches, and I love those ducks, and I hate this conversation now. She's sad! Darcy is sad about the huge kicks and punches! I'm sorry, Darcy. I didn't mean to upset you. We're speaking hypothetically here. I'm not going to kill all of your ducks. That's okay. Thank you, Eustace. She's not going to kill all of them at once, anyway. Just the ones we need for food. She's trying to get out of it. She thought we wouldn't notice. Hedwig. Madam? She stood up, holding her empty plate. I would like to see you in my office when we're finished eating. I didn't know what they were. I just stuck my hand out. I beg your pardon. Oh, nothing. Silence. They're just dried apples, dear. Oh. The total whiplash. What? Come on, Marta, give me some too. Absolutely not. You've been a little... You've been a little cunt lately. Marta! Crone. Gutter snipe. Ronyon. That's enough! The superior looked irritated. Flora and Marta looked as if they were having a grand old time. Hedwig, I'd just like to speak with you privately about your new duties as chronicler, now that you're feeling better. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. One of the others will show you where my office is when you are ready. She strode out of the room magnanimously. Take your time. Enjoy the rest of your luncheon. I started nibbling on some cheese. Everyone was watching me. I'm happy to share the apples, if you'd all like. There was a dull roar of agreement from everyone in the room, all except for Angela, who had been pretending to ignore everyone for the entire meal. I broke up the handful of dried fruit into 2 piles and passed it to either side of me, keeping 1 piece for myself. Thank you kindly. So, now that the elder ma'am is gone, do tell us about yourself. I realized that even now, after I had no more candied fruits to give, everyone in the room was staring at me with intense interest. I don't know what I could say that I didn't say this morning. What did you say this morning? I must admit, wiping up your sick has overridden any memory of what you said prior. Sorry. Catherine shrugged, smirking. Margaret waved a hand. It gave us a chance to... Ow! A chance to reflect on the nature of servitude to God. A chance to what? A chance to... What were you two doing? What? A chance to... What were you two doing? Huh? Huh? You had a chance to do what? The nature of servitude? And so on. I could see Angela raising one of her eyebrows out of the corner of my eye. Anyway, Hedwig is adapting wonderfully. She had some trouble with the stairs, but got the hang of them quickly. I imagine you probably have some trouble upstairs if you've been locked in a little room for that long. Yes, whereas we're all locked in a big room, aren't we? With each other for company. Locked is a strong word, Catherine. You're right, as usual. We aren't locked in. The hill is more of a moat. This song is so weird! Honestly, you sound just like Flora sometimes. Or a hill. I'm not sure the metaphor is necessary. Metaphor? That's a big word. As expected, however, from our resident librarian... Oh, right. Latin. Librarian cum butcher. It's Latin. It's Latin. On the subject of ducks, I was merely speaking in hypotheticals. Oh, that's another good word. What does hypothetical mean, Eustace? I regret saying anything. I'm being earnest. It means mind control. You're thinking of hypnosis. 3 for 3. A loud jeer went up around the table. Darcy, let me out, please. Eustace scooted her chair back with a large squeak and stormed out of the room. Oh, come on, Eustace, please come back. Perhaps this is rich of me to say, but I think you lot don't know when to lay off sometimes. I do not understand in this case. 1 minute she is talking about fighting ducks, but now she is upset we are joking about fancy words. Bad timing, I think. She's doing her best, but she's quite torn up. We all are. It's horrible. Hedwig, dear, you don't know. I know. As I said, she was joking about killing ducks. I would have thought that would have been worse than joking about words. You're young. It's never the obvious things that remind some folk of Greek past. Eustace is the librarian, and Catherine was the chronicler, of course. Peas in a pod they were. Not just them. We all miss her very much. It isn't a competition. Flora looked as if she was about to mouth off in response, but at that moment, Eustace re-entered the room carrying a large wooden bowl. What's this? What the hell happened in here? We were wondering where you'd gotten off to. We were worried you were upset. Eustace said nothing as she walked to the table with the bowl, smiling gently. That's playing dirty, Eustace. I have no idea what you're talking about. I forgot I made this to celebrate our newcomer, that's all. I believe you. Gay lead? Gay lead? After you've had all had candied apple? Goodness. What's gay lead? Puddin'. Puddin'. Eustace ladled out the sweet-smelling treat onto everyone's plates. When it was Angela's turn to be offered some, she pushed her chair back and stood up, jolting the entire table forward and causing everyone's plates to wobble. Darcy and Moira had to hold on to their dishes to keep them from spilling over onto their robes. Is everything all right, Angela? No. With a glare that seemed to lock with every pair of eyes in the room, Angela stalked out of the rectory hall. And now she'll be coming back with pudding. What is her deal? What is her deal? Go up, thou bald one! Yeah! Bible verses! I was in considerably higher spirits after eating. I excused myself after finishing the gate. Okay, what is this shit? Hang on. What is this? Foods of England. Figs, grapes, and small bread cubes in an almond sauce. Ooh. Take almond milk and flour of rice and do thereto sugar or honey and powder ginger and galangale. Then take figgies and carve them ato or raisins a whole or hard wastely diced and color it with soundaries and seethe it and dress them in. Yeah, it's real. That's real. Those are real words. Trust me. That's even better than the Latin. I kind of wonder how it tastes. I'd be curious enough to taste it, at least. I got a little self-conscious about how long I was taking to meet the superior. Even though there had been a few awkward moments, I didn't really want the conversation to end. Still, feeling like I should be responsible and punctual, I excused myself partway through a continued discussion about what animals Eustace could best in hand-to-hand combat. Darcy helpfully volunteered to show me to the office. It was on the first floor. Further down the hallway she'd taken me down on the way to the kitchen and bath. There you go. Thank you. And thank you again for the mint as well. And for showing me around before. Oh, and I helped cook lunch. Oh, well, thank you for that as well. I didn't make all of it, but not that it's sad not to hear a thank you from the others and nice to hear it from you. Well, in I go. In you go. Enter. I heard the knocking sound. I was like, oh shit, someone knocking at our door? I got a little paranoid there. I opened the door and slipped inside. Darcy watched me with a big grin still plastered to her face. The superior's office was small but meticulously kept. It was rather plush compared to the rest of the rooms I'd seen so far. A grand window looked out into the garden, and there was a door off to the left that I presumed to lead to a private bedchamber. The superior herself sat at a thick oaken desk in a rather ornate chair. "How are you feeling?" "Much better, thank you." "Good. Good. How has your morning fared? Setting aside your little fainting spell." I rummaged around in recent memory for a reassuring anecdote. "Oh, it has been an interesting experience. I managed to run straight into Sister Angela on the way to the chapel, and Sister Catherine introduced me to Sister Margaret." "Those two. Try not to let them rope you into any schemes." No, of course." "They are both incredibly adept at sneaking around. Both of them have managed to scare me witless with their creeping." "I am relieved that I'm not alone then." "Indeed. Do you have any leads yet?" Leads?" "Any idea who could have killed Catherine yet? Any hint at all? Anything to follow up on?" "No." "That is a pity." "Mother Superior, I've been out of my cell for all of 6 hours, if that. For much of that time I was ill and then asleep and then alone in a bathtub. What clues could you possibly expect me to have already?" Did you really think someone would slip up and tell me over luncheon?" "No. I suppose I shouldn't have counted on anything quite so miraculous happening." She turned around and stepped towards the large window. Some thorny bushes were growing underneath, and a few trees dotted the path between the building and the garden. Light and shadow danced across her habit as she paced back and forth slowly. Did she kill Catherine? I don't know. I don't even know how Catherine died. I heard some mournful whispers from the sisters I've met, but I haven't a clue as to what actually happened. When did she pass? How? Where is her body? Sister Catherine was found in the cloister on the first morning of November. She was laying on her back with a sword plunged into the earth just above her. Huh? Her head had been cut off and arranged in her hands. Holy shit! Holy fuck! What? It was ghoulish. So that's what was in the grass. I thought it was a crucifix. Yes. No one, least of all me, could bear to remove it. It's been something of a monument to Catherine, I suppose. Rather grim. A bloodied sword feels like an awful way to remember someone. You'll get no argument from me, but these women are strange sometimes. That would be true regardless of my suspicions. That said, the blade is actually clean. It was clean even when we found it. It was? Yes. Angela found the stable boy hiding in the yard without a speck of blood on him. But Sister Darcy discovered his cloak elsewhere. It was quite tarnished, and Angela surmised that he'd used it to wipe down the blade before attempting to flee. A sound theory at the time. I have my doubts now, though. Who found the body? Sister Charity on one of her morning walks. The round woman you met at lunch. Don't call someone round! I don't mean it as an insult. Ah! Go up, thou bald one! What happened to Catherine's body? Wait! Why did that just suddenly flash in? Hang on, what? Hedwig's kind of interesting. If you're hoping to play surgeon and examine her for clues, I'm afraid she's already been interred. I understand. This was actually a small relief. As determined as I was to find Catherine's killer and help bring them to justice, a dead body was the last thing I wanted to see. Where was she buried? The cemetery is a short hike from here on the hill. I can have one of the sisters show you there should you feel the need to visit. Say a few words. Not that you could have known her, I suppose. What a great idea! What if the murderer, since you don't believe it was a suspicious boy with blood on his shirt, decides to off me as well? Perhaps while taking me on a pleasant hike, alone, up to this cemetery. I must say, it feels rather difficult involving myself with the others when you've directed me to spy on them. You make it sound so ugly. We are seeking justice. I had no choice in the matter. I'm sticking my neck out based on your intuition. Let's not fight about it. What's done is done. You are no longer an anchoress. You are free to do whatever you wish once the killer is captured. I was perfectly happy where I was. Don't be ridiculous. You might as well have been a prisoner. If that were so, I would have been your prisoner. I really, truly do not want to fight about this. Yes, you keep saying every time I question something. giving me? This insolence! By God, where's the awkward little titmouse who introduced herself to service this morning? She's standing in front of you, rather upset about the situation she's been thrust into. You are not but a bratty child. A woman, a member of our family, had her bloody head cut off, and all you can think about is your own comfort. These people are not my family, you least of all. I am your superior. I am your abbess. You are my charge, and you will do as I say. I have been as accommodating and kind as I possibly can in asking for your assistance, but make no mistake, I do not need to ask, nor will I in the future if I require something of you. Vade ad formicum, o piger et considera vias eus et disce sapientiam. Quacum non habeat duacum nec precipitorum nec principem. Parat aestate sibum sibi et congregat in messe quod comidat. I am neither ant nor sluggard, abbess. I will respect your wishes as my superior, but I am not a soldier awaiting commands. Are you surprised? I must admit, I surprised myself at this moment as well. Maybe my humors were still off kilter. Maybe I was tired of feeling meek and embarrassed all morning. Perhaps I, free for myself for the first time in many years, was trying out new behaviors to see how they fit me, the way one tries on a new cloak at the Mount Market. Or maybe, just maybe, it was something else. Do you think Darcy could have been right when she said this place was haunted? I am sorry. Once again, I am being unfair. Please try to understand. I have so much love for this place. And these halls are my responsibility. And if it all falls apart, I don't know what I'd do. If you truly believe the stable boy did not do it, I could so easily throw him to the wolves. Don't you see? I do not mean to throw you to them in his place. I mean to take the more difficult path here. I'd rather stake my reputation on seeking the truth than condemn an innocent boy for my own gain. It would not be right. I understand. I could feel myself becoming smaller, meeker again, deflating like an empty water skin. You want me to start truly investigating things, I need somewhere to start. I can't just hope to stumble into the answer. May I speak with the accused? The stable boy in the hospitalum? An obvious, but nonetheless excellent idea. I felt so trapped by my position leading the convent, despite this investigation ultimately being my responsibility. I didn't dare think of involving myself so directly, but you could speak with him. I will take you to the hospitalum. In secret, of course. I'll arrange a time and send for you under the pretense of more chronicler business. I would still pose my first question to you again, however. Think hard. Has anything struck out as particularly unusual to you? Everything is unusual to me. I was fighting back tears now. Meek. Everything. Did Catherine tell you I barely made it down the stairs this morning? In my mind, I knew what stairs were, but I can't remember if I'd ever actually walked up or down any before today. It would take some time to adjust. I'm not sure if I will ever fully adjust. Have faith. If I could offer one small observation at least. If there's anything I find strange, it's how calm everyone seems. So you felt it too. I'm glad it was not just my own superstition. Everyone seems happy. Especially at luncheon. They were joking, laughing. I suppose I'd have no way of truly knowing, but the congregation certainly isn't behaving the way I'd expect them to, knowing one of them just died. It is odd, isn't it? Yes, I suppose. Your instincts weren't wrong in asking for my help. I changed the subject quickly. I did not want the superior to think I was happy with her choice in my situation. God forbid. Oh, a question. Is it true the hours are compressed here? A morning service in an evening office that encompasses every office? Yes. That's fairly standard in most monastic communities nowadays. Why didn't you tell me that? My cell wasn't far away. You knew how to use stairs. The bishop forbade it. Why? Because an anchorite's entire purpose is to do the things normal people cannot. She was right. I tensed and untensed my hands a few times, unsure what to do with myself. I was to bear burdens no one else was expected to, all alone in there. You thought otherwise? I don't know. I suppose I never really considered it. I just read scripture and theology all the time. I had an idea in my mind of what an abbey was supposed to look like, and I just I thought even if my role was different, everyone else's would be at least similar. Things are very different when you have responsibilities. The day-to-day tasks of earthly life, as much as the monastery reduces them to their two basics, okay, this is a typo. Them to their basics are still quite time-consuming. Animals must be tended to. Food must be grown and prepared. Work arises and must be done. Besides, you had your own work to do. You had books to copy, scripture to commit to memory, prayers for the town people to amplify. What? You were given written prayers to say for people. That was one of your core duties. I was given no such thing. Now is a very poor time for jokes. I am being completely serious. I have no idea what you're talking about. I copied books. I prayed the hours. I was never given anything else to pray for, save the occasional visitor to the Hagioscope's prayers. She gave me a piercing, icy glare. Then, as if a set of strings holding her upright had been cut, she collapsed into her chair. I don't understand. We are very far away from the nearest village or town here. Nonetheless, we are here and we serve the people of Linbarrow in their needs. Offer them help with their prayers. Of course. I would have happily done so if I'd received any. Because we're up on this hill, we're sent supplies from the village. Things we can't grow ourselves, essentials, the occasional holiday luxuries, and so on. Oh, music. This is a new one. She reached down to a drawer under her desk, pulling out 2 small cups and a carafe. She uncorked the container and poured some dark liquid into both cups. Wine. Drink up. She slid one of the cups towards me with her own. I took it gingerly. I had, of course, had wine before, but this smelled different. This is nicer than anything you'd have brought to you, I'd wager. One of the aforementioned occasional luxuries. Drink it. Please. I braved a sip. She was right, it was different. The one thing was quite strong. The superior took a big swig of hers and continued, When you were brought here and made to take the vows, one of the first things that crossed my mind was how inconvenient it would be to expect the people of the village to trek up here every time they needed spiritual aid. Why, it'd be positively cruel to make children walk all the way to the Anchoress themselves. Old men with walking sticks. You get the picture. And since we are all the way up here on this lonely hill, I thought, why, I know what would make things easier. I offer the townsfolk a simple idea. They're an educated sort down there, you see. Not like us, or, well... She waved her cup towards the door. More than them. So I told the people to write their prayers down. Give them to the young man who brings our supplies. We'll sort through them and pass them on to the Anchoress here. And did they? I saw the envelopes, yes. Many times. I don't understand. The abbess took a final pull from her cup and slammed it back onto the desk. Giving those letters to you was Catherine's responsibility. Huh? Wait, what? Wait. So Catherine was the one that came to talk with Hedwig. All those days she came to talk to her about, like, plays and stories and shit. She just came to talk to her, but she never actually gave her the letters. Why didn't she give her the letters? Huh? Wait, what? I didn't know what to say. The woman who had come to the Hagioscope so many times, who had seemed so interested in me and my way of life, had been hiding an entire function of my job from me? Why? It made no sense. The already foggy picture I had of Catherine in my mind was losing definition. I suppose I could start by just asking the others about Catherine. Be careful. I could raise suspicions rather quickly. Well, taking over her old role makes sense to everyone if I asked about her, I think. I should know the size of the shoes I'm meant to fill. As long as you're careful to frame it that way. Of course. I just don't understand. Why would Catherine withhold my letters? The superior let out a heavy sigh and brought a hand to her temple. She looked as if she'd aged 5 years over the course of this conversation. I don't know. The more I hear, the less I understand. That's exactly how I feel. I know this is the right thing to do, but I was not expecting things to get this tangled quite so quickly. I will do my best to untangle things, Abbess. I tried my utmost to sound authoritative, Maybe I really was trying out new personalities. The superior gave me a tired smile in response. Bless you. Take a wander around the grounds and talk with some of the sisters. You should be taking most of the rest of the day for their work. I'm sure they'll make time to chat. I gave a little bow of my head and turned to lead through the large oaken door. I stepped out into the empty hallway. I had no idea where to start looking for people, but I realized now was as decent a time as any to explore the abbey and get my bearings. Truth be told, I had no idea how huge this place actually was when I was in my cell. I had a few diagrams of monasteries and cathedrals in my books, but those were just little lines on a page. Music again, by the way. Jeez. Now that I was actually wandering around an abbey myself, I would expect to hear something like this in like a You May Nikki fan game, seriously. One that seemed to eschew the careful layouts I'd read about. At that, I found myself marveling at the tiniest things. Most of the stonework was quite old. I had noticed that some walls lining the path to the bath and kitchen were in disrepair. I didn't quite know how to describe it, but it wasn't just dilapidation. Some parts of this place just looked older, squared off, less detailed. The chapel, for instance, while certainly very tall inside, felt very simple. A big box, really. But as I walked around the grounds, I noticed that certain sections of the abbey were meticulously detailed. There were little flourishes on the corners of the stonework. Bits and pieces that didn't seem to serve any particular function, but certainly caught the eye. And then I thought maybe that was the function. I hadn't seen many other buildings before, but I could immediately spot the difference between parts of the monastery. I reached for a comparison I could make. I connected it to books, of course. Some parts of the abbey felt like they had been built the way the Old Testament had been translated. Functional, blunt. Constructed out of the bare necessities to make their point immediately. In the story of Elisha I was relaying earlier, the distance between the bears tearing those children apart and Elisha arriving in Bethel is 2 lines or so. Older parts of the abbey were more majestic, pretty. Perhaps there's a structural reason for the way things look. Look is what draws you in. You can gaze at it and ponder what it means rather than understanding its purpose immediately. Maybe it's just decorative. Maybe it's decorative and functional. Or perhaps the decoration is the function. It's long-winded and aesthetically interesting, like something Aquinas wrote. Hedwig sure has a lot of thoughts about how things work, huh? I like Hedwig. Romanesque versus Gothic? Well, yes, that was exactly what I was getting to. I apologize for rambling. I'm trying to illustrate how my mind was piecing my new world together after being locked in a room for years and years. I suppose I'm the Aquinas between the two of us, aren't I? Not in talent, by God, but certainly in method. That's okay. You can be Roman, and I'll be Gothic. Who is she talking to? Who is she talking to? She knows the person she's talking to. She's not talking to a stranger. Whoever she's talking to, she knows them. She's been locked back inside of her cell, and someone has come to visit her that she knows. It's interesting. I'm curious. I took a turn I hadn't made before down some stairs. I trod carefully, still embarrassed about my little adventure of Catherine that morning. I realized I was stepping into the undercroft, which meant the cellars must be nearby. I wandered through the croft until I heard voices echoing around. They sounded strange. I followed them until I spotted barrels. Lots and lots of barrels. I walked through their rows of casks, the row of casks in awe. This was a lot of wine. I could see 2 figures ahead of me. Oh! Hello, Hedwig! Hello, you two? Did Marta put you on cellar duty? Oh, no, no, no. I just came down here to talk to Flora. I was on cellar duty. Is everything all right? Oh, everything is just fine. We were just talking about chess. I am very competitive, and sometimes I just raise my voice, I suppose. Yeah. Are you good at chess, Hedwig? I've never played, actually. Of course. What a silly question for me to ask. Who would you have played against? That's right. You play chess against yourself. Where's the fun in that? You get to be alone for starters. Bah! No, 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 that is such a waste of time. There's no romance in that. Romance? The thrill of competition, the heat of battle. Chivalry requires spectatorship. To do battle not with swords but with wits. Romance takes two. Wow, you certainly do get passionate about chess. I can romance myself just fine. What do you mean about that? I do it all the time. What do you mean about that? Lyra! Now you are just disrespecting the game. I don't understand. Well, anyway, Lyra, I still demand a rematch. You will face me on the field of battle of the mind, and I'll prove to you that your last victory was but a fluke. Fine. Whatever. We'll get you on my face. Tonight, we duel. Okay. Yeah, they're fucking. Adela lifted up an imaginary sword, then twirled it and sheathed it at her side. Okay. Sure. Bye. Goodbye, my friends. If you're interested, Hedwig, I'll teach you how to play one day. All you have to do is ask. She gave me a smile and left down the long passage of barrels. Come to think of it, I might have an Alexander Neckham book that mentions chess. I don't care. Right. I suppose that's something I could tell Adela sometime. What do you want? Oh, nothing. Just making the rounds. Saying hello to everyone, you know. So, this is what, your third introduction? Sorry. Flora huffed and leaned against the casks lined up against the back wall. Look, I'm sure you're really nice or whatever. I don't volunteer down here for the conversation, understand? You like to work alone. Finally! Someone understands! Well, I will be working alone a lot too, I think. So do you have any advice? Advice? Yes. Advice for working alone. Certainly. Well, for starters, you need to be by yourself. Alright. And then, once I'm by myself, I like to do my work! Why are you asking me for advice anyway? Aren't you like twice my age? I am barely a decade your senior. I'll have you know. Close enough. Marta had— oh, sorry, I just hit my headphone, my microphone. Marta had been right. I tried to change the subject to maintain composure. Was she right about Flora being a cunt? Is that what Hedwig was saying? This is certainly a lot of wine. Yes, as you can see, I have a lot of work to do. Alone. Is the wine here good? I wouldn't know. I haven't gotten to try any. This batch will be the first the Superior has allowed me to taste. You must have a large vineyard nearby. These aren't all ours. Oh, really? Where are the other casks from? Dunno. Oh. Some rich guy, probably? Maybe this is a good environment for wine storage. Good for bringing out the flavor or whatever. I see. Well, I shall leave you to it then. Thank you. It was nice chatting with you. Yeah, nice meeting you for the third time. I turned away to leave. I'd had just about enough of that conversation. I'd made it halfway back through the rows of barrels when I heard Flora call out to me. Why did you want Catherine II's job so bad? I didn't. Really? Yes, I promise. I turned to look at her. She was eyeing me up and down. I tried to give her as defiant a stare as I could muster in return. Weird way of showing it. Bringing a 20-year vow to take a dead woman's work. Fuck, I'm getting tired. I wanted to tell her about Catherine's visit to my window. I wanted to tell her about how the Superior had practically forced me to do this. I wanted to tell her that I was trying to help heal the wound that was making her act this way towards me. I didn't. I couldn't. If you want to put it that way. Sure feels like that is the way it is. How I'm putting it has nothing to do with it. So it must seem. With that, I turned around again and left the Undercroft. The very nature of her taking the job is suspicious. That's true. She's already got like she's already got a disadvantage. I wandered around the halls for a bit, trying to gather my thoughts. Adela was certainly passionate about chess. Was that really what the conversation I walked in on had been about? Surely Adela had been here long enough to know Flora didn't like being bothered. She had made that clear to me immediately, after all. It must have been something more important than that. No, This wasn't going to work if I started looking for reasons to suspect everyone every time I encountered them. I was going to need to strike a careful balance between searching for the answers and letting them come to me slowly. I'd go mad otherwise. Well, more mad. I stepped onto the outside path that led past the kitchen. I walked past the rectory where we'd all met for luncheon. I followed the little path around the grounds. Eventually, I came to the side of the chapel. I stood back and gazed at the building, taking it all in. There was a pile of rubble next to the chapel, a blemish on an otherwise picturesque scene. Bits of splintered wood stuck out at odd angles, but they were rotted through. The stone itself was quite weathered as well. It looked perhaps as if an extension of the church had been planned but forgotten. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed movement. Oh, hello there. Ah, Sister Margaret! I was just taking a stroll around the grounds. It's a good way to pass the time. Lots of nooks and crannies to explore around here. Yes, it certainly seems it. I find myself quite overwhelmed. I think I might know most of the interesting passages and doors and whatnot around here. A little boggling. But honestly, I doubt anyone here knows every little secret. If you find anything interesting, let me know. We can compare notes. I will! What's your favorite? I don't think I know you well enough to share that just yet. Oh, nothing against you. We can work up to my favorite. You gotta level up her social link! You gotta level up her nun link! God damn it, Hedwig! You gotta play the game! I can tell you my second favorite if you'd like. Go on then! If you ever get hungry in the middle of the night, there's a secret way into the stores through the cellar. Really? Where? Now, where's the fun in that? Fair enough, I suppose. It'll mean more if you find it yourself. Exploring this place is very enriching. You'll have a great time figuring it out, I promise. I'll keep that in mind. By the way, at luncheon, I would like I would like nothing more than to skip over whatever topic you were hoping to breach here. Ask me what my favorite psalm is, if I play any instruments, anything else. Do you play any instruments? I'm not too shabby at the lute now that you mention it. Wow, I've never played any instruments. I imagine that's obvious, come to think of it. You should try it. Catherine would have shoved one into your hands the minute you stepped out of your cell if she was still here, I wager. Really now? That's more or less how it was for me when I got here. Hardly a minute after having my hair shorn, she was asking me all kinds of things. What I like to do, what I wanted out of life. Nobody got past her about trying something new. She sounds like she was very inspirational. She certainly had the stars in her eyes. May she rest in peace. May she rest in peace. Well, this has been as pleasant as it has been maudlin. I'll speak to you later, Hedwig. Until next time, Margaret. She gave me a quick bow of the head and continued off towards the path I'd come from. After taking another good look at the chapel, I looked around behind it. So, she was trying to bring up probably Catherine. Margaret just completely fucking shut her down there. But then she brought her up anyway. I found that kind of interesting. There I could see rows upon rows of bushes and hedges, flower beds and vegetables. There were vines crawling up the walls of the buildings surrounding the vast network of plants. This was Darcy's domain then. Is that Darcy? In fact, I could see her and Eustace beside the door to what looked like a large shed or some sort of hall. I didn't recognize her about her fucking slouch. I picked up my pace. At the very least, these two would be nicer to me than Flora was. Or so I thought. Eustace looked slightly irritated when she noticed me. She stood up and brushed herself off as I approached. Hello, I wanted to say thank you for the gate. Now is not a great time. What? Is something wrong? No, just, I'm busy. I glanced at Darcy. I realized she was looking even more out there than usual. Is she okay? Yes. As long as I'm watching her anyway. What'd she... Darcy was pacing around in a small circle. Her head was tilted skyward and she looked blissful. She's having a vision. She's what? Rows of bookshelves. Rows and rows of bookshelves. Rows and rows and rows of bookshelves. Hold on. Eustace dipped down to pick up a small ledger and quill she'd been sitting with. What do you mean a fucking vision? What do you mean a vision? Huh? The reader chooses a book. There's a book the reader has not read before. The reader chooses a book and opens the book. What's in the book, Darcy? Ink flashes like flame, and they hurt the reader so, but the reader pays no mind. Readers read and read the reader's does, until the reader's eyes are burned, until every page is turned. Readers read and read the reader does. Yes. Keep going. Stay with me, Darce. How can you be so calm about this? She's had this one before. Readers read and others ask. We ask readers what they read, but if they've read what we need. Reading makes no one wise indeed. Readers read and others ask, even if the flames do lash. Eustace scribbled all of this down. She seemed perfectly collected. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. All of a sudden, Darcy stopped walking in her little circle. She began to wobble and tears started rolling down her cheeks. Her blissful smile was gone. This is Neo. What do you see now, Darce? What's happening? Fire. Yes, flames. You said that already. Anything else? Go. Fire. Go. Fire. Go. I forgot what I was talking about. Just another one of your visions. I'd say that tincture was a success. Oh, good. Was it a nice one? It's hard to tell. Okay, they're literally fucking making drugs. They're literally brewing some fucking drugs out here. They're out here making some fucking LSD. They're literally, like, dropping LSD right here. This girl's brain is cooked. This girl's brain is cooked. It is well done. She drops drugs, homemade drugs, until she has visions. She touched her face and looked slightly surprised by how damp her cheeks were. Was I crying because I saw the face of God and it was beautiful? Or was I crying because it was bad? We'll talk about it later. Darcy, how long have you been having visions? A long time. We really need to be going. Yeah, I need to go sit down for a bit after having one of my vision signatures, or everyone says I stay too odd. So bye, I'll talk to you when I'm less odd. You're always odd, Darcy! Eustace took Darcy by the arm and coaxed her back towards the main building of the Abbey. I stood there, stunned. I had, of course, read about mystics, but I'd never dreamed that I would meet one, let alone see one in the middle of having a vision. I must admit that I had not pictured Darcy as being quite so close to God as that. It was a little humbling. Again, if Marjorie Kemp could be so gifted, why couldn't Darcy? I guess in this time period, this wouldn't quite be called witchcraft. 100 years past this, maybe? Yeah, that should be burned as a witch, I think. When were the witch hunts? When were the witch hunts? I don't remember. Someone look that up. I spent some time alone in the garden. I could see rows of carrots, juicy-looking squashes, and plump parsnips. There were plenty of other things I didn't recognize, too. I realized just how limited my diet had been in my cell. I salivated at the thought of trying some new food. The flower beds were quite beautiful, and a mix of pleasant smells filled the air. I took a little stroll through the flower bushes. There were all manner of colors and shapes that I couldn't identify. I stopped to smell a few. They were all lovely. Ah, crushed monochrome flowers, my favorite. There was one awkward, spindly-looking bush at the end of one of the hedgerows that looked out of place. Weren't the witch hunts around the time of the Black Plague? A number. I meant a number. The peak years of witch hunts in southwest Germany were from 1561 to 1670. Is that something that spread to England? I don't really know my history. But yeah, this is before the witch craze, I suppose. It was slightly skeletal. The leaves looked too big for the plant and drooped a little. As I got closer, I realized there were little berries on the ends of the flowers. Against all better judgment, I reached a hand out, curious to see what they tasted like. Don't touch that. Goodness, you made me jump. Sorry. I wondered if you were still in the garden and came looking for you. I'm sure it's all very exciting, but don't go touching things willy-nilly. That's very rude of me. I apologize. It's fine. Just don't touch that plant, whatever you do. Is it poisonous? It started near France and probably crossed to England. Witch hunts first appeared in large numbers in southern France and Switzerland during the 14th and 15th centuries. Okay, alright. So, yeah, alright, okay, I gotcha. Extremely. Why on earth is it here? I'm no botanist, so I can't explain it properly, but the short of it is that it's useful in small doses. How on earth could poison be useful? Well, Moira says it can be used to make a good painkiller, for one thing. It was Catherine the First who begged Darcy to start tending it, though. Apparently, it's all the rage in Italy. You drop a little bit of the extract in your eyes to make them look bigger, I suppose. Shinier. That's absurd. You won't get any argument from me, but that's why it's here. Darcy really does a wonderful job with this garden. She's brilliant. Darcy's our little Hildegard. Von Bingen. Sorry, is that someone you... Oh no, don't worry. I've read Hildegard. That makes sense. An expert with plants and a real visionary. Darcy's like her in several ways. That's right. Is she doing well after all that? She's fine. She tries to have them on purpose. She has all sorts of different concoctions she's been tinkering with to try and enhance and understand her visions for years. That's incredible. It's certainly interesting. Did Darcy know Catherine very well? Catherine II, you mean? Yes, she thought Darcy was a genius. How nice. Catherine II had a way of making everyone feel special. Sometimes to a fault, if you ask me. She encouraged everyone to try new things to see if they had any hidden talents. The pudding you made for luncheon was very nice, by the way. Is that... Oh, no, the recipe's all me. Well, all me in my books. I see. Well, it was delicious. I'm glad. Anyway, my point is, Catherine II was someone who couldn't leave well enough alone. She had many admirable traits. I miss her dearly. It's true. I don't follow. Eustace stared at me pointedly from behind her large glasses. Be careful, Hedwig. That she turned on her heel and left the garden. What the fuck? Huh? Catherine could not leave well enough alone. Did Catherine poke her nose into something she wasn't supposed to? Did Catherine hear or see something she wasn't meant to and was killed for it? And does Eustace know what that was? Beads of cold sweat were building on my forehead. I felt knocked entirely off balance. Also, does Eustace know Hedwig's purpose to investigate the killer? After a few moments of stunned silence, I staggered back through the flower beds towards the abbey. Oh, music. It was a little chilly outside now. It was getting later in the afternoon, and I presumed the dinner bell would be ringing at any moment. Eustace's words were still bouncing around in my head. I hoped that a meal might straighten me out the way luncheon had earlier in the day. As I walked through the cloister, I remembered what the superior had said about the sword being left as something of a monument to Catherine. I stepped onto the cloister grass and walked up to the sword, somewhat apprehensively. Be careful, Hedwig. What had she meant? Did she know? The sword was indeed clean. It looked well weathered, but there was no blood upon the blade. I dared not touch it, but I could tell the edge was still decently sharp. Be careful, Hedwig. How many of them knew? If Eustace suspected I was up to something, surely she would tell the others. The secret might already be out there. I heard a rustle of wings above me. I jerked my head up to see... Cloaked in shadow, barest glint of eyes. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Why is this suddenly so fucking scary? This is so scary! I'm so scared! Oh my god! They disappeared into the shadows as soon as I was sure they were there. I scurried away from the sword, feeling a sudden rush of bravery. I started running towards the nearest staircase that might lead me to whoever had been watching me, and collided directly with Angela. I'm so sorry. There is to be no running in the halls. Did the superior not tell you that? No. I really am sorry. What are you in such a hurry for anyway? I was in the cloister. I thought I saw someone watching me, so I was running to see who it was. What on earth for? To see... I don't know if they wanted to talk to me, perhaps. Of course. No one here seems to be able to resist your riveting conversation skills, I've noticed. What an exciting first day you've had. Has it been fun? Being paraded around like a daughter the Duke is desperate to marry off? Spare me. I can see right through your little act. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I do. I know exactly why you joined us all of a sudden. I'll take your silence as confirmation. You may have tricked the others, but I am no fool. If that's the case, then why haven't you told them? Because I do not care a whit what the others think. I just don't like meddlers, and I know a meddler when I see one. The Superior may not care about how this place is run, but I do. I will not let her entrust this place to a complete outsider. Oh, what? I was at a total loss here. At least now I could be honest in my confusion. You think I'm to become the next Superior? I'm not even close to the most senior sister here. As if tradition matters here. Why else would you have been left free from your cell? Why else would you be taking meetings alone with her? I'm just learning to be the new chronicler. Yes, the Superior seems to think chroniclers make good Superior material. She's a fool, but a determined fool, I'll give her that. Wait, was she implying there that she was trying to make Catherine the next Superior? From that comment there, was she implying that? She cares a lot about this place. Clearly. Hence why she set a mouse loose in the kitchen. She stalked past me, turning her nose up. I stood there shaking with anger for a moment. I wheeled around as she reached the bottom of the stairs. Who killed Catherine? I know I shouldn't have asked so bluntly. I felt confident enough in Angela's ignorance to barrel ahead. James Foreman, a nasty little stable hand who had his eyes on her ever since he first started making deliveries to the Abbey. She rejected his advances, so he hacked her head off with a sword he carried in his cart for protection on the road. It was brutal, random, and obscene, like most crimes are. I cannot believe that. You never met her. Why do you care? It is my job to care. Not yet, it isn't. I was fuming, but did feel a little twinge of satisfaction realizing that I'd thrown Angela off of my real reason for being here. I knew she was wrong about Catherine, though. There were too many strange things going on. Too much unsettling evidence to the contrary. Evidence like... Well, I didn't actually have any evidence, did I? I just had whispers. Whispers telling me that something was very, very wrong here. I had agreed with the Superior out of a mixture of obedience and pity, but now I was itching to find the truth and rub Angela's stuck-up face in it. Vision thing. Okay, chat. I think this is a good place to stop. I've been streaming for 3 hours. How are we feeling, chat? Are we all... Are we all into this story? Because I am. Because I am. This is so good. Into this. Very solid hook. Good. I'll stream more of it tomorrow. I'm, like, you know, I'm not really streaming a game for you right now. I'm kind of just reading a book to y'all. But I'm having fun. I hope my reading aloud skills have been satisfactory. Okay. Alright. Thank you, everyone, for watching Misericorde. I will stream more of this tomorrow. I hope everyone has a good night. I will see you all later. Bye-bye now.